Well, after the fun and excitement of Interlagos, we are headed across the Atlantic Ocean and headed to the home of British motorsport, Silverstone. It's round number 4 of the Porsche Gt4 Esports Supercup. Paul Smith, Sadakis here as always, and we start off with the All-Stars as always, and it's a brand new car for this season for them now because we've done with the 992, we've headed over to the 718.
Yeah, and we've gone to a high-speed circuit of Silverstone as well, where we're going to be racing in this particular round. So it's kind of interesting. You go to the high-speed circuit. We're going to arguably the slowest, well, definitely the slowest of the 3 Porsches they'll be using in the All-Star Cup. But one of the coolest ones, the lovely little Cayman. I admire it. I think it's a brilliant little car. And I think in GT4, it's a fun one to drive. It's very much momentum-based. And with so many corners at Silverstone being high speed, it's going to be a little bit opposite lock. And who can balance it the best, I think.
Yeah, as we have a look at the final few moments of the practice session for the All-Stars. Yeah, this is the Porsche 718 Gt4 Cayman. And, well, this car, it's certainly a different beast. It's got ABS, it's got traction control, 425 horsepower, so it's a fast little thing. It's just a little bit more user-friendly than the 992 that we were using for the first 3 rounds.
Yes, however, significantly less downforce and a narrower tire as well. So there is, like I say, that high-speed grip at a track like Silverstone will be arguably more difficult to manage, but absolutely ABS is a certain factor about it, no question. You'll be able to get a little more aggressively on the brakes, a little more forgiving. It might bring out some more of the drivers that were struggling with the 992. There it is, mid-engined, the smaller, the 718 in the Porsche family. Look, you can go back to the Boxer, you can go back to many different Porsche iterations. I think the Cayman is the most brilliant of the sort of the secondary Porsche, as I refer to it. I'm sure their marketing department won't love that, but obviously the 911 is the main car within the family. And I think, like this year, they released the GT2 version of this car. They already had, or sorry, the RS version of this car. They already had the GT4. They went with the GT4 RS. I think that car is the one to have if you want a daily driver. That's a Porsche. It's not going to be as menacing as the GT2 RS or the GT3 RS. And it's a little more manageable in terms of power on the street and a little bit less attention-seeking, but still beautiful and super fun to drive. I love the mid-engine aspect of the Cayman. I've had the pleasure of driving a few different ones now, including a GT4, and yeah, super cool car. I think if I was buying a car to be on track and off track, that's the one I'd go with.
Yeah, it certainly is a good one. And well, here we are. We've said it's on Silverstone, and here we go. This is the track. You can see there. It's very flat, is this venue. Little elevation changes here and there. 18 turns, a historic venue, the home of the first ever Formula One World Championship Grand Prix. So, as I say, home of British motorsport, but also the birthplace of that particular championship. But we're not there for that. We're here for the All-Stars. And, well, as you see, Silverstone this week. Next week, it's back-to-back weeks. We head on over to the Red Bull Ring. Before then, after a couple of weeks, heading over to back across the Atlantic to Circuit Gt4 for the final round of the 718. Then Spa-Francorchamps, Nürburgring, and Circuit de la Sarthe for the 911 GT3R. That is going to be a true test for those drivers in that beast of a car. And then we finish off at the Autodromo of Monza. I mean, Matt, we're into qualifying. It's open qualifying. So slipstream, it's not the strongest slipstream and draft off of this car, it must be said. But around this circuit, it can buy you a few tenths of a second in qualifying.
I mean, it can, but as you can already tell just there, as we saw Kirk just completely tucked up behind the number 95 car, I believe, of our guest driver. Yes, it is. Casey Kerwin's going to be joining us this week as our guest driver in the series. So he's rocking the 95, the iRacing logo on the hood. More of an oval guy traditionally, but going to see if he can show his stuff here in the Porsche. But yeah, he was tucked right in behind, obviously, onto that straightaway and didn't really go for a move. In fact, arguably lost ground, so the drive off the corner is still more substantial. You're right, it's not a huge slipstream, but it's going to be more about, I think, Canada. I think especially when we get to Circuit Gilles-Villeneuve, we're in the right car there with the walls and the heavy braking points and the ABS being a factor within the car. I think around here, like I say, you could have picked any of the 3 cars and they would all be a hoot to drive. But we'll see if the ABS is a factor into places like, Abbey, or getting in toward, around Farm and into the arena section. It could certainly be a factor.
Yeah, as we look, there's Casey Kerwin on the left, there's Quirk on the right, and they're both chatting away to their streams and having a bit of fun out there. And I was joking before the event here that Casey, well, he doesn't need to wear a crash helmet, does he? Not with that beautifully manicured hair.
Yes,
he's got the best haircut in all of sim racing. Maybe
I think
apart
he's
from you.
Well, I don't know. I'm balding. I just hide it really well. That's the trick. You just need to leave a little bit of overhang on the sides to push forward, and no one notices. Okay, if I take the headset off, it's a little different, Paul. Okay, it's like a headband for me. No, look, I was gonna say he's like a Justin Bieber fan of like circa 2000, maybe 11 or 12. He's got those perfect bangs, you know. No, but Casey's a very respectfully quick driver in his own right. As I say, I mean, I've seen him on a number of different streams, working with other drivers, and he's constantly competitive in everything he touches in iRacing. So it'll be fun to have him. The RDA, another guy, always great to be with us. You can see him chatting with his stream. He's always smiling too, having a great time.
He certainly is, and getting to grips with this car around that circuit. Maybe want to send a postcard to the Apex at Brooklands. But yes, Jadier hugging the inside of Luffield. There's two trains of thought around Luffield. You can either hug all the way around like Jadier did, or you veer off, you give it two apexes and really get the drive out the corner. Down the old pit straight, here's Borjazazo. Wow, that's, we normally see him, but the last 2 weeks he's not been in his customary tuxedo.
He's going full ninja. He's definitely going to be more, I think, maybe this is a change of not only style, but driving style to go with it. Maybe he's just ready to be a little more loosey-goosey, a little more on the edge. Channeling Raphael as the red Ninja Turtle, I think, is he not?
Oh, God,
yeah, no, let's see if I can still do this. Michelangelo's orange. Donatello is blue. Leonardo's purple. Raphael's red. Ah, man, I'm good. Probably got that
for
wrong.
those younger viewers, that's a reference from the early 1990s.
What do you mean younger? Those are old people these days, Paul.
No, but I'm saying for the younger viewers who don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I thought you were saying younger than you. I was like, man, you're dating yourself.
Please, I remember the 80s. As we go on board with Ike 360, Xavier Sanchez, of course, won on his home ground. And we'll be looking for another win in this championship. Jardier with a great lap, 7/10 faster. Here's Matt Malone. He's somebody who can really battle and fight out there. And I have to say that over the years, his sim rig area has changed a little bit. He's still got the dog bed there, but it's really nice hardwood flooring there.
Yeah, nice looking place. I'd say a fairly new looking place. No marks on the walls I can see. Door looks pretty white still. Yeah, it's pretty cozy, as is lovely logo on the wall as well. Althea Bouk, Tia Masson's going to be driving as well again this week with our series. Cayman, maybe she didn't have the best go, admittedly, in the Porsche Cup car, but I think maybe the Cayman will be a little bit more up her alley in terms of driving style, and maybe Silverstone as well. Silverstone's a track I think everybody knows, no excuses there. We've had pretty familiar tracks throughout the series, but Silverstone is, I think, probably the most frequently driven within iRacing of all the ones so far on our calendars. So
there we go. Now Dan Suzuki. Well, he's got a nice view out of his property there.
So I don't know if you saw what Dan Suzuki's actually doing. He said he was going to do it for the first week of Season 2 in iRacing. For those of you, obviously a lot of you are iRacers, but for those of you who don't know, iRacing breaks its year down into seasons, and that's when you get the car updates. It's 12-week seasons. For week 1, he was saying he's going to mount his wheel to the kitchen table with just a chair on a single monitor and see how he gets on. And believe it or not, he's been pretty close to his actual times in the full rig, which is kind of crazy.
But it just goes to show that you don't have to spend a ridiculous amount of money getting the highest end gear to be able to be competitive in sim racing. You can get a relatively cheap setup, get set up on a desk like I do. I race with a wheel mounted to a desk, and away you go. It shows that you can still be competitive with a lower end set of equipment.
Yeah, I mean, he's still on a direct drive, but he's on the Fanatec DD Pro, the very consumer fan. It's incredible the price of DDs now. Like, Fanatec's done so well to bring that product to market because a few years ago, even DD was completely inaccessible to most people, if I'm honest. And yeah, you're right. It absolutely shows the technology is improving, not only to be able to mount great stuff to a desk, but also that you can do that. I think you go back to Emanuele Pirro when he was racing in some of the stuff during the pandemic, and he was in like a folding garden chair on a desk, and it was like, man, I love this guy. What a hero. Like he is the guy that's doing it for all of us. So it's kind of cool to see.
You see, you've mentioned a name from when I used to watch touring cars from all over the world. Emanuele Pirro, what a driver. Not just touring cars, of course, but endurance racing as well. So, but yeah, here we are, DePayo with him going across the line. And the question is, has he set a lap time? I do believe he has not. And he's, see how much he was having to work his way through, Abby there. Maxime, well, we've mentioned the crash helmets in the background many a time, so we don't think we need to
they're outdated now. No, they're outdated.
Yeah.
Lewis is back to, he copied Lando's yellow, you know, or did Lando copy him? There was a debate on their Instagrams. And then, yeah, I think she's got to get new ones now.
Yeah, that's it. Come on, Maxime. She'll have to maybe ask a few people to send her some or something like that. I don't know. I'm sure she's got a PO box.
That would be a cool. You remember you used to buy pottery that you would paint yourself?
Yes.
Or like model cars you paint yourself?
Yes.
They should sell those helmets and let you paint them yourself. I would buy one then. I don't really care for the mini helmet, but if there was like an aspect of me painting it, maybe I could change up the colors or something and try stuff, or you just had to get it as close. I think that'd be cool. Paint by numbers helmet version.
When I was younger, I used to build the little Tamiya model cars.
Yeah, and you paint them at the end. Yeah. Or at very least they'd come with like a sticker kit, but usually you painted them.
Yeah. Speaking of people who have been putting out some videos, we've got Gamer Muscle there on board with him right now, and he's been warning people about the trappings of sim racing with a very serious video of, well, you get one piece of equipment and then it's, oh well, if I just get a new monitor, then that will happen. And then, oh, before you know it, so
there's 4/10 in these brake pedals. I better get a new set.
Yeah, so he's been putting out a public information service.
I compare that, like, there's two things you can compare that to. It's like tattoos. I don't have any, but everyone says as soon as you get one, you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. I like this, and then you get a million more. Or the famous one for me, I'm a mountain biker, so less inclined to this. But cross country biking or road biking, it's like I can spend $800 and save 8 grams. And you just keep going and going and going.
So at the moment, it is actually Quirk who's on pole position provisionally for the time being, but Casey Kerwin is right up there with him. I've seen him race on dirt road stuff as well as oval and road stuff. He's just a talented driver. Jardier third ahead of Heike 360 with Emery in fifth place, but only 3/10 off of pole, so it's not all lost there. Dan Suzuki, Porsche Gt4 then together with Matt Malone. Right, Gamer Muscle in 10th with Tia Mossant. I'm trying to work on my pronunciation.
We were corrected this week, so yep,
yes.
I think that's Frosty. My friend Yuri made it very clear we were saying it wrong as he helped me set up my stream. Shout out to him for taking time out of his day to make sure I could figure things out, because Lord knows I can't do it myself. So had him at my side for that. Just want to point out as well, Rye, we saw him on camera there, getting well out of the way. Josh Ferguson, that's kind of how qualifying should work. You get 1 or 2 flyers, be aware there's other traffic around you, and they also are inclined to, and at the right of getting a lap, and gets out of the way politely so, even though it's qualifying. So well done for him, being a sportsman out there as well.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we've got less than a minute, and as always in these events, once that clock strikes 0, that is it, because it is a heat racing event here for both this and the World Championship drivers later on this evening. Make sure you stick around for that. But yeah, once that clock strikes 0 here in qualifying, you do not get to finish your lap. You have to cross that line before it strikes 0. So these are the last lap times that are coming in right now. Dan Suzuki comes across the line, does not improve. Maxime is at Beckett's. She won't make it to the checkered flag. And last couple, Emery now. What can she improve? She's in 6th place behind Borja Zaza, crosses the line. And the answer is no, yes. Yes, she does. Up to third.
Look at the gaps as well.
Yeah.
There's 4 of them within the same 1/10 of a second. That's outrageous. And then you've got Sanchez just 1/10 back, another 10th for Zazo. They're all there. Dan Suzuki. This is, I think, the closest we've had the All-Star grid yet, all the way back to 12th position. It's only 2 seconds.
Certainly. So let's give you your grid then. So it's Quirk and Casey Kerwin who share row number 1 with Emery, and Jardier row number 2. Heike 360 and Porsche Zaza row number 3. Row number 4 for you here today is Dan Suzuki and Matt Malone. They've had some intense battles so far this season. Rai and Tia Mossant with Game Muscle and Maxime on row number 6. And row number 7, Depay and Idro. So that is it. 7 rows of grid, 14 drivers to take on 2 races, as always here in the All-Stars. First race is going to be 17 minutes, and then the second race is 27 minutes. And of course, in that second race, we do have a full inverted grid. I mean, Matt, this is going to be, with how close they were in qualifying, this should be the most competitive race we've seen so far.
I think so, yeah. And don't forget, we have a reverse grid, which means the second race should be incredible as well. This is going to be a great treat to get us warmed up for the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup that's coming up just after this. Obviously, that's back into the 992 Cup car. Everyone's taking their spots on the grid. James West back in this. I mean, Althea, we said this could be a better car for her. She's in the mix within the times. This is looking really, really good. Pierre-Oliver Vallette, unfortunately, I don't think got a time in. Neither does Julian Sizaboris. There's one I need to learn how to pronounce. I always mess that one up. But we're just waiting for one more to join the grid. I think it's Hydro that might be having an issue, I'm hearing.
Yeah, we are hearing that in an area that they might be having a slight issue. So yeah, he's not going to make it to the grid. So unfortunately, on the 13 drivers, we'll start this race then. But it's Quirk on pole position then. Alongside him is Casey Kerwin. The drivers will wait now. The revs rise for the start of this sprint race. Green flag, and it's away, and Emery gets a much better start than Casey Kerwin, down towards Abbey for the first time here in this race. 2 by 2 through Abbey into Farm, and then the best of taking spot on the opening lap here into Village. Tight right-hander, nice and wide for the drivers to be able to get themselves through. And now into the loop, really, really slow left-hand hairpin. Then go on the power, carry the speed through Aintree, and then down onto the Wellington straight. And they'll come flying past our camera position here. You can see them all coming past. 2 by 2. Dan Suzuki's fighting at the moment with Porsche Zazo as they go into Brooklands for the first time. Still there, so giving a little bit of space. And now Matt Malone's trying to get involved in all of this. And this is what we like to see here, Matt. Nice, clean start.
Very clean, yeah. And Emily Jones obviously making up 1 spot. Casey Kerwin, the highest rated driver in the field, as our guest driver is 7,999 I rating. You might as well call it 8,000. But like we say, is more prone to be driving in circles or on dirt tracks. He does everything within the sim. No slouch, but maybe just a bit out of his comfort zone at the start of this. He'll settle in, no doubt, over time in this race. And the fact that he's just got into the line and everyone stayed clean is really nice to see. And as we said as well, I mean, Jaroslav Honzik was very quick in qualifying. Sanchez, Zazo, they're all there. And in the race, as things start to transpire and sort of trip over each other, they'll cash in on this. That's a bit of a wide run, I have to say, though, coming out of Chapel for Casey Kerwin. And that's going to leave a run now to Yardier.
Jardier then looking to go to the inside. Casey did think of blocking it off, but it was a little bit too late. Into Stowe, you can go too wide through here, and you get the run out of the corner if you're on the outside line. That's exactly what happened there. So that means that Casey Kerwin hangs on to 3rd place for the time being, but you can see the queue of cars from first all the way back here. Great to see these drivers out there pushing hard. It is at the end of the first lap. Quirk, then Emery, then Casey Kerwin, Jardier, Hacky 360 with Porsche Zaza, Dan Suzuki, Matt Malone, Gamer Muscle, and Depay rounding out your top 10. There was a little bit of movement further back. Maxime getting ahead of Rai.
Yeah, I think Rise had an incident because he's now dropping well down the timing chart. 6 seconds back, he's gone. Yeah, it disappeared off of it. So hopefully he'll recover. Is he on pit road? Okay, so he has fully abandoned the situation and towed back to pits because he would have missed pit entry at that point. That was just coming onto the front straight. Here's a look at Dan Suzuki, Mr. Kitchen. We'll call him the chef because he's going to try and cook up a race on that kitchen table of his right now. But he is still, like I say, in the mix. And this is exactly the point. Okay, sure, maybe in his rig he's 0.2 quicker. Maybe that makes a difference here. But it's only 0.2, if that. And he's still holding his own with every possibility of, capitalizing on mistakes. And I love it. I love that he's doing this strictly to prove the point that, hey, this is accessible. Get involved. And that, I think everyone should right now. If you're watching and you're thinking, geez, I need this 3-panel gargantuan monument in my corner with a computer and all this technology. No, you don't. Just strap it to your desk, take it off when you're done. You'll still be quick. You'll still hold your own.
Well, I think that's the point. Because Gamer Muscle, I know for a fact, is...
Look, even Matt Malone's like, man, I'm in my rig and this guy's beating me.
Well, I was going to point out, Gamer Muscle has got a triple screen setup that's 3 55-inch screens. So...
Jesus.
It just goes to show that just because you've got all the gear doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be any quicker. Although I say that, he's right behind Matt Malone right now, is Gamer Muscle. Looking towards the front though, Emily Jones, Emery, she's putting the pressure on Quirk. She's trying to force a mistake out of him. As we go through Stowe once again towards the Vale and then Club for yet another time. So Emily, she is our champion from last season. She's trying to win it again this season, but she's been doing it tough this season.
I think she's very good in the GT4, and I have to say as well, the Cayman, unlike the 992, which was introduced this season, last season they were in the 991, she'll be more up to speed with that, right? It'll be more familiar. Something she raced last season. It's been in the sim a little bit longer, and therefore perhaps, as busy as she's been, she'll be able to jump in this with less laps and be up to speed and back on pace pretty quickly. And she's looking pretty aggressive here. She's changing up her braking points a little bit compared to Quirk, just trying to find an alternate entrance and gain some momentum, maybe force him to consider his mirrors. Checks chat, unless he's used to a left-hand or right-hand drive car and he has his mirror offset on that side, but I can't imagine. It's usually the virtual mirror in the middle that everyone uses. So just to note as well, his sweater today, Paul, please no Punterino. We don't have Jimmy Broadbent with us. He's off driving real cars. Sounds expensive and risky, and I would rather be on sim. No, look, credit to him. He's having some fun, but not with us this week, just to note.
Yeah, absolutely. So representing Jimmy, one of our normal all-stars that takes part in these races, down towards Copse Corner. And I can tell you what, Casey Kerwin's now come back at Emily. He's trying to get through, get back up into that second place where he started. And the problem for these two is that they don't want to fight each other too hard, or else they'll let Quirk just pull away as they go through this brilliant complex. Maggots, Beckett's, and then Chapel. I'll tell you what, I've been to Silverstone a few times. The first time I went there was back in 1995, and it was a damp morning, and seeing Jean Alesi going flat out in his V12 Ferrari into Maggots and Beckett's was just, 11-year-old me just blew my mind, just the speed that some of these cars can carry through there.
Yeah, nothing wrong with Silverstone. I'll be completely honest, it doesn't stand out. It's a very good track. It's not, in my opinion, ooh, Emily's taking a look. It's not, it's a world-class, how can I say this? It's a world-class facility, but it's not something that has a ton of character that stands out to me as being exceptional, except those corners. Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel are phenomenal corners, and arguably the most fun part of the circuit, just with how much commitment it requires. So, yeah, look, it's an opinion thing on the track, but I think those corners are the best for me, for sure.
Yep, so at the top there, you can see that battle for the lead. It's a 6-car train. Then the battle for 9th below then, which of course is Matt Malone and Gamer Muscle. And, well, they certainly are pushing on. In fact, no, it's Gamer Muscle and DePaia. So DePaia has done a very good job, started at the back of the grid, up to 9th place now, so
and I
bit of
think
recovery.
He may have X'd out on his lap in qualifying as well, because I didn't see him actually get a decent time in, so perhaps he does have more pace than qualifying suggests, and as we say as well, there's the reverse grid. He could still capitalize on that in race number 2. But yeah, good contest going on between them. Much cleaner to the apex, I have to say, than what we just saw from Gamer Muscle, who was miles off at Brooklands. But Brooklands is a tough one because it even doesn't really show it on the track map. But and you have to, Paul, you're going to be more versed. Straight away out of Arena to Brooklands, the name of that. It's not the Hangar Straight. Hangar Straight's out of Chapel.
It's the Wellington Straight.
Wellington Straight, thank you. I completely left my mind. It comes in at a slightly different angle than previously when the old track existed. And it is kind of decreasing. So you always think you can go deeper on the brakes. And then you realize, oh, wait, the apex is right there. And it's a lot of people miss Brooklands.
Yeah, they certainly do. Right, let's go on board then with Casey Kerwin. Let's give you a little bit to the sights and sounds with this Buzz sound lap. Well, there we go. There was some of the sounds. And, well, if you heard our commentary box, we both took a sharp intake of breath right then because they were going 3 wide on the exit of club. Emily Jones is to the front of the field, and now Quirk is under some serious pressure here from Casey Kerwin. And Kerwin's got a great run down the Wellington Straight, but Quirk, crucially, has got the inside line there.
Yeah, but he holds Brooklands. Brooklands is a momentum corner, so all he has to do is keep his nose in, and immediately they hit the braking for club. You can ride right up onto the green, and he's going to take the apex in. So that comes back in his favor. He just needs to hang the car a little bit at the apex. Okay, he didn't allow the overlap. That was crucial. And ever the opportunities. Kerwin went at that while they were battling in front. You saw Emily Jones. They compromised their exit, as you say. Out of club, sorry, Luffield, that was that corner there, out of club, and he just jumped to the inside because he got the better run, but manages after 4 corners to get the job done. Great race. Look at this train of cars right now.
This is incredible racing. We've got 7 cars in a queue right now. So is Emily Jones who leads, Casey Kerwin second, Quirk third with Jardier. Ike 360 is in 5th place, and just a little bit of a gap back to Porsche Gt4, Dan Suzuki, and Matt Malone is loitering with intent as well, so he's giving it a good old go. But here we are. This is Jardier in front of the man that we're looking at here, Heike 360, Xavier Sanchez. He's got Borja Zaza all over the back of him. You can see in front as well through that windscreen that the lead battle is not over here either. We've got 6 minutes remaining in this race. Things are starting to heat up here.
Absolutely, yeah, this is great. I'm loving it. I love this train of cars, this sort of balance and composure. Do you go for the move? Do you try and make it stick? Do you risk giving up your spot in the queue and then getting shuffled down the order as everyone trains by? It's such great racing, and ultimately sometimes you just sit and you yourself don't want to make any mistakes because there's someone all over you, but you're just hoping the guy in front maybe misses an apex, maybe gets a little slide, and then it comes to you naturally because it's a lot of, like I say, looking forward, looking back, and making the right decision, the educated decision in each situation. So it's good fun. And like we say, reverse grid, all these guys will be at the back next time around. So maybe it's worth going for here in the opener.
Yeah, that's certainly worth the effort to try and get a win here. Of course, Casey Kerwin, guest driver here today. So he is going to score championship points, but as he goes to the inside, at Brooklands, Emily Jones tries to squeeze him at the apex. That's cost her big time.
She's good. She's still in.
She's able to apex.
Yeah, she was able to get it out way. Like I said, you can get right out over the Astro Turf on the outside of that corner. In fact, in the Formula cars here at Silverstone, in sort of the F3s, the F4s, you'll see drivers do that. They'll just let the car carry as much through Brooklands as they can with the aerodynamics. And now we're going to see this repeat of what we saw last lap.
Oh, Quirk to the inside of Cops. Casey Kerwin trying to get the cutback. Here comes Jardier in all of this now. Oh, 3 wide once again as Jardier from 4th to the lead of this race.
My.
Incredible stuff. IQ360's battling. Casey Kerwin is getting freight trained a little bit here. He's down to 4th place, nearly down to 5th.
And that's exactly what I was talking about. Do you make the move and risk getting shuffled out? It's like karting, especially 4-stroke karting. If anyone watches 4-stroke as opposed to shifter or road tax, where they've got a little more power off the corners, it's so momentum based, just like this Cayman versus the Cup car, that as soon as you're shuffled out, they're going to freight train you. They're going to keep that momentum. You're offline. You're losing all that speed. He gets forced to the inside as they went down toward Cops, and there was nowhere for him to go. And luckily, he tucks back in only in 4th, because that could have gone all the way back to 7th the way this battle's going.
Yeah, things really are getting intense at the front here. And it's where do you look? Dan Suzuki now taking an opportunity. Ever the opportunist says thank you very much. Although Heike 360 is right there. He's pushed out to the exit and holds on to that place. Although Dan has got a nose there. No, decides to back out of it into Abbey once again. 3.5 minutes remaining here. So we should have 2 laps remaining. Casey Kerwin now going for the move on Quirk. I said that's a favourite overtaking manoeuvre down into Village. Not quite making it. Can you get the cutback out of the loop? The answer is no.
Yeah, and again, even if he can, he has to be far enough along to get a really good drive into Brooklands, because Luffield comes right back. Look, yeah, he's loving this. How did I end up here? What happened?
But you know what? This is the type of racing that I love participating in when you're in a close pack like this. It's just so much fun. You're under so much pressure out there on track, and well, before you know it, you're just thinking just up corner to corner. One
of my absolute favorite races. I had 2 really good races this year at Spa in the Fanatec GT3 Fixed on iRacing, one of the series that we do, and obviously it was good because I won both, but we changed the lead every time. But one of my absolute favorite ever in iRacing was a Race Sim Canada race. I was in the Porsche, the RSR, the GTE car at Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve, and I was in 2nd the entire race. But I was smelling the fumes of the car in front of me, and likewise, the guy in 3rd was giving me Morse code every braking point, and it was so much fun. For like 15 laps, I was dripping. You just couldn't make a mistake. You couldn't risk a move. You couldn't slide at all. And like all 3 of us were like, I don't even care that like I was 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. That was just awesome. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I was racing on Thursday night, and when I spoke afterwards, I could not get past this guy at all. And he was saying that he was absolutely dripping with sweat at the end of that one. I'd put him under that much pressure. Meanwhile, speaking of trying to keep things intense, it is Quirk looking to the inside of Stowe. Now you got the outside there, Casey Kerwin into the back of Emily Jones, and Quirk says, thank you very much. I'll take that 2nd place now. It's started the final lap here. Jardier, Quirk, Emily Jones with Casey Kerwin, and then Borja Zazo and Heike 360. What has happened to Dan Suzuki?
Yeah, he's obviously had a moment. Fortunately for him, there was a gap back to Gamer Muscle, so he was able to keep 7th position for now, but he's under threat from Gamer Muscle. Meanwhile, we got to keep our eyes peeled here. Defensive from Jardier. Last lap, as you say, doesn't want to give Quirk any opportunity, and if Quirk overcommits to that, we know what happens with these cars. We just talked about it. Emery's going to be all over the opportunity.
Well, here we are then, out of Aintree, down the Wellington Straight now. This is one opportunity, one slipstreaming opportunity. You can see them all just darting about. They're all looking for a gap. They're all trying to get into the mirrors of the driver in front. They're trying to force an error. So far, so good. Into Luffield then. All about getting the run out of this corner. Carry that speed then through Woodcut and down the old start and finish straight. Here we go. So Copse Corner. You can make overtakes at Copse Corner. And Casey Kerwin, we've just been told, has picked up a black flag for too many instant points. We saw this in the opening round of the Porsche Gt4 Esports Supercup. It's happening here now in the All-Stars.
Yep, there would be a lot of runoffs. Obviously, we talked about the AstroTurf, but obviously getting into the back of Emery, that would have given him a 4X as well. He's still smiling. He's going to finish this one out either way because he's enjoying himself, so he might as well take it right to the finish. But yeah, that's unfortunate for him. Look, he's guest racing. As you say, he will score championship points, but he's not necessarily in the championship, so not the most dramatic thing for him, but unfortunate for him nonetheless.
Well, here we are, final time this opening race down towards Stowe Corner then. It is Jardier who's holding on for the time being, but Quirk, if he can go through and get a good run out there in towards Club, look to the inside perhaps. No, Jardier's got that covered off. He's going to park it on the apex there through the final corner, and it's, well, Quirk's going for it right at the end there. He's squeezed, but Jardier gets the win, and look at the joy on his face. He's normally the happiest man in sim racing. Well, he's showing it right there.
Yeah, winning a race like that is amazing, especially when you sat back the whole time. He was in fourth for the majority of that battle. Drama further back. Is that Dan Suzuki that's backwards? Yes. No, it's Dupilio, I think, actually. I think Dan Suzuki was just the one that went through the shot prior to that. So, yeah, he's gone backwards and around at the finish. I think he crossed the line in reverse at that point in time. Noted as well, Matt Malone, a black flag for incident points. So that's two drivers. But again, two drivers that will be shuffled in the results of this race. So Casey Kerwin actually will benefit in the reverse grid for that. So at least there's some good news or a silver lining to that situation for those two. More so for Matt Malone, who is looking for championship points. But yeah, what a race. Yardia is going to be loving that.
Well, here's what happened earlier on. We were saying about Dan Suzuki, and it's Gamer Muscle and DePalio. And that's Matt Malone there. Oh, so this is what's happened at the end. We did have something else as well with Dan Suzuki, but this is what happened at the end there. Matt mounted the curb, and as soon as you do that around here, it just sends you into the other car. But we can tell you, Jardier, there's one thing that we know for sure. He's the race winner here in this opening heat race, with Quirk second place. Emily Jones third, ahead of Borja Zazo in the official results then. Fourth with Xavier Sanchez, Dan Suzuki, Gamer Muscle, Tia Mossant, great result for her in 8th place, with Maxime 9th and Rai in 10th. Casey Kerwin, DePilio and Matt Malone all picking up penalties right at the end there, dropping them to the back. But then, of course, with a full inverted grid, means that they're starting at the front.
Absolutely, yeah. That's going to benefit Casey, who's got some good pace. He'll get a bit of a jump over the rest of the people that he was battling with, who were undoubtedly going to be battling again. Emily Jones, Jardier, all those guys. Dan Suzuki as well is another one who went backwards a little bit. Obviously had a mistake. We didn't quite get to see it there, but could be one to watch. And I'm supporting what he's doing. I think it's very cool that he is showcasing the practical side of sim racing, because it itself can be expensive, but it is very accessible compared to the real world counterparts. And I think that's the beauty of sim. And I think that's so cool that he's even showcasing that at this level for everyone. So proud of him. Well done. I want him to win it. That said, Paul, I want to talk to the guy who had the best fist pump on the day. I would have thrown my arm out if I fist pumped that hard, but Jardier, from 4th to 1st, sitting back watching it all unfold in front of you, you led the race, probably the least of the guys in front, but at the right time.
Yeah, I'm just shocked, man. I have no idea, Seneca, what's just happening, you know? I just placed the card. I was just patient. I was like so careful, and then I seized the opportunity, you know? That's all that happened.
How fun is it to be in a race like that, where, you know, we were kind of touching on the broadcast, but risk versus reward, there's so much going on around you.
Yeah, like everyone, like I was like, obviously the pace of like top 8 was completely the same. We were like in one big group, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna just take it easy. I'm gonna just stay with everyone, and everyone was like very careful, you know, because you could literally see as soon as someone attacked, they lost like massive amount of the time and position. And yeah, I was just patiently waiting for maybe my opportunity.
Yeah, well, you certainly got it. How's the Cayman now that you're back in it after the 992?
Best car ever, like, obviously, right now. I love it. It's completely different to the Cup car we driven last time. It's different because you need to like focus more on the corners, like getting proper exit and so much, compared to the 911 where you're just basically hoping you will not crash. But yeah, it's like, as it's slower, it's so much more difficult, as you can see in a close racing, because you can't sacrifice any millimeter of the track.
Yeah, it's so momentum based, right? I think it's really cool to watch. How is it around Silverstone? I actually haven't driven it around Silverstone yet in the sim. Something I probably need to do, but it seems like such a high speed track with such little downforce.
Yeah, exactly. As you said, like the fast corners, you really have to brake for them. Like Meggett's, Beckett's is so much understeer party there, but it feels really nice. Like the only problem is like the off tracks. You know, it's very strict on the off tracks. You obviously want to go on the exits properly and touch the insides properly as well on the curbs, but you really have to be careful.
Yeah, well, we saw two, Matt Malone and Casey Kerwin get penalties for that. You didn't. You ended up P1. Good job. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Seneca. Thank you, man.
Paul, I think that was, interesting to touch on. Speaking of the 1Xs, Nimcross and I had a debate about it this week. But obviously, the cool thing in Sim, and I will maintain this despite thinking some corners should be maybe different than they are based on the reality of GT racing, more so than Formula. The cool thing in Sim is that that's all. It's black and white. You know, there's a sensor on the car, there's a sensor on the track, and you can't dispute it with stewards and subjectivism.
Absolutely. Well, if you've been watching that and thinking, well, where do I find out more information about this series? Not just the World Championship, but also the All-Stars. Check it out, iRacing.com/PESC for further details of that. And also, if you are thinking, well, this looks like a lot of fun, and you've seen Dan Suzuki do it relatively cheaply as well to show that anyone could take part, iRacing.com. Get yourself logged on. Get yourself a membership. Currently 40% off all new memberships on iRacing.com. Every day is a race day here on iRacing. So do join us on this service. But without further ado, let us take you to your starting grid for the main race of the Porsche Heuer Esports Supercup All-Stars. And well, it is that inverted grid, so it is Idrio who is on pole position with Matt Malone alongside him. Then second row of the grid, DePayo with Casey Kerwin, Rai and Maxime on row number 3. Row 4 for Few Mossant with Gaming Muscle there alongside her. Dan Suzuki and Heike360 round out row number 5 with Borja Zaza and Emily Jones, Emery, on row number 6. And then the front two from race number 1, Quirk and Jardier. Well, we saw some fun racing in that first race. Matt, very quickly, are we expecting more of the same here in the second race, or a bit more chaotic?
Absolutely, we are going to see more of the same. We're going to see if Hydro can make the grid this time. He may not. 9 seconds to be on the spots. On pole it would be, but this is going to be, I think, an awesome race.
Well, unfortunately, it does look like technical problems is stopping Hydra from taking part on this race. So let's look then. Effectively, it's Matt Malone on pole position. On the less favoured side of the grid, green flag in the air. Away we go for 27 minutes of racing here at Silverstone. Matt Malone gets a good drive down towards turn number 1 at Abbey. Through the right-hander, the left at Farm. Cold tyres for all these drivers here, don't forget. In towards the village for the first time. Will they go? Well, they're going 3 wide all the way through, almost 4 wide further back there in towards the loop. And these drivers all trying to find their way through. Emily Jones has been taken off to the side of the track there. Able to carry on though. Emily will be dropping to the back of the field here.
Yeah, she should catch back up on that, though. It's still early. They're still shuffling for position a bit, so that'll hold them up, and she's going to get up to speed on the tires and have some clean track. Casey Kerwin opened the corner up as much as he could when he arrives at corner 3 and then took the inside line in Arena. They're still battling this out, though. Such is the momentum of these cars. Oh! You can't just drive off of it, but he gets a hip check. He's used to rubbing and racing in the ovals, and in the background, Gamer Muscle's around as well, but that was a big hit up on 2 wheels coming off of left field.
God, Graves, you could see the energy that went through the car then with it going up on 2 wheels. Fortunately able to carry on in 4th place, but it does mean
that would have been that's a risky one, because in a real life situation especially, you go wheel to wheel like that, that's where the energy comes from. It lifts you up and it can do suspension damage. I think he might get away with it here though.
Should be okay. Into Maggots, Beckett's, and then Chapel for the first time. So go through here. Here's the Vodafone replay then of what happened to Gamer Muscle. This is going through Luffield. And does he get a little bit of assistance? Oh, he's turned down. Oh, come on. James, you're better than that.
Yeah, that's on him, I'm afraid. I think he thought there was a gap. There was not. Dan Suzuki was already inside there. So, yeah, absolutely. He was entitled to that spot. And meanwhile, here we go. Emily Jones, I said it. She'd catch them up quickly. She's already made a few spots based on attrition and the 2 spins we did see. But this is the race for the lead as they go side by side. Dupilio trying to get by Matt Malone, who holds his nerve and holds the line, and therefore the position. Kerwin's lost out on one, by the way.
Well, yeah, he did fall down to 4th after that contact through Lovefield. So, yeah, he's down there in 4th right now. Across the line, then it's Matt Malone, it's DePilio with Wright, Casey Kerwin. Maxime is loitering with intent there in 5th place, just ahead of Quirk. Then it's Dan Suzuki, Heike 360, Borja Zazo, Emily Jones is up past Jardier. Crucially, Casey Kerwin going for the move for 3rd place, and Rye put up a fight, but unfortunately it wasn't enough.
Yeah, no, I think he was a little bit surprised and caught off by Kerwin going around the outside at 3. So when he got to the arena, he overbraked it. Not really sure. I think he could have potentially fought that more. Because of how quick the 2 apexes come at you and how sharp and slow the arena corner is, turn 4, you can actually drive between the 2 apexes pretty aggressively and not need all of the track, which means you can defend a little more than that. So I think he was just caught off. Kerwin's been very good around the outside in that position.
Heading out of Lovefield. Matt Malone seems rather relaxed to say that he's under pressure from behind there, but you can't afford to work yourself up too much, especially in the early stages, or else you waste energy, don't you?
Absolutely. This is one of the first times I think we've seen inside of DePilio's room. I don't often see this as commonly with him, looking like he's out for, gonna go out to the shops after this. He's got his nice polo shirt on, glasses ready to go, hair all styled. It's just, pretty calm and collected at the rig.
Oh, Wright is dropping down the order, and that's why. That's down at Beckett's, and I think he's found one of the only concrete walls out there at that section of track. So I'm sure we'll get a look at that in a few moments' time. Meanwhile, Casey Kerwin has been looking a little bit behind our 2nd place driver, and Kerwin is coming through now. Here's another Vodafone replay.
And I was going to suggest this was on his own because I thought there was more of a gap than this, but he's obviously had an issue. Quirk gets in, and yeah, he just lost everything coming off Cops. And I would have liked to see that replay maybe a little further back, just to see if maybe he had a slowdown from running wide at Cops and that he was backing off maybe into Beckett's a bit, because that was a huge discrepancy in speed. And yeah, Quirk stuck his nose maybe a little bit too late in that situation, not aware that he was going to be slowing off perhaps, and that cost him and gets him stubbed into the wall. So unfortunate situation.
Oh, look at this now. Dan Suzuki taking a different line, trying to get moved forward past Maxime. Maxime's putting up a fight, a good battle in here, and down the inside. Dan Suzuki then up into 5th place. Meanwhile, Casey Kerwin has moved forward into 2nd place right now. And, DePayo is certainly he's trying to put the pressure on. As Casey Kerwin, he's got a move there, not quite done.
This is it's so funny. People yell all the time in Sims, stop flashing your lights, stop flashing. It's literally 2 little dots in your mirror. It doesn't do anything. I love the Ricky Taylor meme. I don't know if you've seen it, where it's like what you think it's like as a driver, and he's all stressed, but he's like what it's really like, and he pulls out a disco ball and he's just partying as the lights go off. This doesn't bother me at all. I love it. Flash those lights as much as you want. Call it rude. I think in endurance racing you should use it more as a signal of lapping. It keeps it more clear that way. But yeah, let them flash. Let them go. I'm enjoying it. If you want to shut them off, Matt Malone, just brake check them and it'll shatter the front lenses, and that'll solve it. So.
I always like to get on the push to talk and just remind the driver, yep, they work.
Exactly. But honestly, in real life, it's like it doesn't bother you either. Even at night, like you hardly see it. In the sim, it's even less, unless you actively are looking at your mirror. And if you're complaining, it tells me it's doing what it should. It's distracting you. You've just told me that. Thank you for the information. I'm going to keep doing it. Like, it shouldn't bother you. You should have your eyes a little more focused on that. But yeah, fair play. Some people get really annoyed with it.
I think we should give some sort of warning of. He's finally switched them off. I was going to say.
I think his hands were busy going for the move. Yeah.
I was going to say, have a little bit of a warning for people with photosensitive epilepsy, maybe.
Yeah. But, so the first time I got yelled at, just to note. So his left hand is the one that's doing it. He's got his Daniel Morad gloves. Morad's actually racing at Sebring today, and that was as close as you get under braking without contact. Look, the first time I got yelled at is because I forgot I actually had the button double bound, and it was not only my lights but my Discord talk button.
Yeah.
So I was just constantly flashing people and not even realizing.
I've seen people accidentally bind it to their brake pedal. So every time they brake, the lights come flashing on. There we go. Is that it again? He's absolutely loving having fun. And Matt Malone, you can see Matt, he's really concentrating on where he is. And, lip move there.
But again, I don't think you want to defend this way. I think Matt's given it up because, again, you can hold the outside at Brooklands, and now he's actually sacrificed Lovefield. I think you let him take the inside at Brooklands. You can force him wide, and if you do it right, you hang the apex. You can even let Dupilio get involved in that and slow Kerwin down further. So I think Matt Malone might have just given Kerwin a free kick with that defense.
Here we go then, side by side. A little bit of a bump there as well between the two of them. You're pretty much going in a straight line there, chaps.
If he holds the outside of Cops here, oh man, Matty Malone, I would have been impressed. This is going to compromise his run though.
Yeah, and here comes Dupilio then to the inside of Maggots. Threading the needle there. My goodness, can they keep this together? Well, Matt Malone's going to hang it out wide, a bit too wide, onto the dirt. Casey Kerwin saying, see you later, boys. I'm off. And meanwhile, these two are fighting, and all of a sudden, there's a lesser spotted Quirk appearing.
Yeah, it's a classic thing at Silverstone. You don't defend Brooklands, you defend Lovefield, because that's the slower corner. It's a longer corner, which means the apex comes back to you. You can sacrifice your entry into it because of how slow it is. So, yeah, it potentially costs him there, as we say. And even in Cops, trying to hold the outside, sometimes you can just tuck back in, maybe get a run down toward Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel. But this is creating a heck of a battle because now we've got Quirk just behind. The race as well between Heike and I believe that's Dan Suzuki, who's made his way through the field as well, looking pretty sharp.
Yeah, it is. It's Matt Malone and Quirk are still side by side as they go across the finish line here. Heike 360, no, Baldassarre now with the fastest lap of the race. As through Abbey they go, heading towards the corner of Village, and Quirk has finally, I think it's taken him about 4 corners, finally got ahead of Matt Malone there.
Yeah, I love the momentum aspect of these cars because it creates great racing like this. And look, Paul, I made a tweet the other day. I saw you liked it, but I said GT racing is far superior to Formula racing. And of course, all the new Drive to Survive kiddies disagreed with me. But GT racing is just so good. Sometimes the balance of performance, single make in this case, even better, but the lack of downforce, sometimes the lack of power, means you got to be a little more creative, and it creates some very, very cool racing and some great contests between drivers in these situations. As we see once again what Dan Suzuki's having for dinner.
Absolutely. What's he cooking up in the kitchen? Well, right now it's 6th place at the moment as Heike 360 looking to the inside of Matt Malone at Cops. Well, apparently you can't overtake at Cops. Well, we've just proved it wrong right there. As through goes Heike 360. Matt Malone drops behind for the time being. And Dan Suzuki, now he's wanting a slice of the action. He's certainly making himself known as Emily Jones as well. Emery, she's getting involved in this battle. It's a 4-car train.
Absolutely, and plenty of time left in this race. 16 minutes, 20 seconds. Do the math on that. They're doing about 2:11 for laps, 2:12s actually in this race because of all of the, I think, scrapping between them. So what's that? The workout to another 8 laps, maybe 7 laps. So there's still plenty of time left in this.
Certainly is, as we go through start again. So we're on board then with Xavier Sanchez, of course, a race winner in this series. Didn't quite get the apex at the Vale. Here's Club, though. Carry the speed out this corner as it takes you all the way down the Hamilton Straight, don't forget. Down here in towards Abbey at turn number 1. And looking forward, there's
fitting
Quirk.
that it leads to Cops.
Well, it's Abbey that it leads into.
Oh, sorry. Yes, the Hamilton Straight. Sorry. Yes, sorry. I was thinking the historic straight. My bad.
You can tell who's the Brit here.
I just was being controversial. Let's be honest.
Well, Quirk has made his way past. Meanwhile, looking at this queue of traffic, Emily Jones now is thinking, well, it's a Saturday evening. It's like we're off to the cinema here because I'm caught up in a queue of traffic right now. Oh, a bit deep from Dan Suzuki, but you can get the run out a little bit at that corner, but Dan's got to be careful now.
Yeah, it does have to be a little bit careful. 5:30 a.m. right now in Australia for Emily.
Did she wake up early or is she up late?
for me, if it's me, because I'm an older man, I generally wake up earlier now. It's an early wake up for me. I can't stay up too late now.
I'm a night owl, and even I can't stay up too late anymore. Like it's still pretty late, like 1, 2 o'clock, but I used to be able to just go until the sun was up and then be like, oh, I should probably get a nap. I cannot do that anymore. No chance.
Well, it's Depilia then, who's third place, the last spot on the podium. You've got Heike 360 right behind. Matt Malone is looking. Malone's thinking, oh, I was leading this race at the start here, and I've fallen back. I need to start making some moves forward. Emily Jones, speaking of moves, down the inside at Stowe to make a position up on Dan Suzuki. So that's up to 6 now for Emery. She has got intentions of at least getting a few more spots in front of her.
Great battles again, though, all the way through. Bit of curb from Maddie Malone. That'll compromise a bit of the exit because they'll hop in. Yeah, absolutely. He's got to concede, I think, the inside. Runs wide, trying to keep the momentum going. Probably get an X for that. But, yeah, the cars are a lot softer sprung, and the damping of them, they tend to hop a little bit on the landing. And given the GT4s and the Caymans have more of a forgiving differential in them, not quite as ramped up as what you get in the Cup car or the GT3, especially a full race diff. Definitely would be a built diff for racing. It's not the same when you get the street car, but they're going to unspool a little bit, and that axle, when it hops, is going to bind up, and you're going to lose momentum every time you do that in the Cayman. So you want to limit the bouncing in these cars as much as possible.
Yeah, fortunately, they've got quite flat curbs around this track, so they don't need to worry about getting a bit of height off of those. Move to the inside of Brooklands, but we've seen it if Depalia can hold that outside line as the inside for Luffield, but you can get the drive out of Luffield on that outside line if you keep that overlap there, and that's exactly what Heike 360 is doing now through Woodcup once again, coming across the old start and finish line. That's not where we're racing from here. Down onto the brakes once again, around the outside of Cops. Heike 360, thank you very much. And Matt Malone, he's trying to take advantage of that. Very, very close between these four drivers, should I say. Well, we're on board with Emily Jones, so why don't we give you a little bit of a buzz sound lap. Here we are then, Emily Jones looking for a move, looking to try and get ahead of Depilia up into 5th place. Perhaps contact between the two of them. Oh my goodness. Depilia gets sent off into the undergrowth, trying to get it back going again, but dropping down. Oh, having such a good race as well. Emily as well. I don't know if she's picked up a little bit of damage from that incident, but I've heard of squeezing. I think Emily might have just squeezed a little bit too much there.
Yeah, that was a bit aggressive. I think I'd love to see another look at it as well, but kind of caught us as we jumped back on to the TV cameras. But yeah, poor Depilia. I think you're absolutely right. He was having a great race, holding on to 3rd. This is, again, though, we said Emily Jones, she'd have every right to come back through this field. It was an early incident that put her wide off the start, and everyone was going to be scrapping, and she was able to make ground. So she's doing that now. She's going to continue to close up. Maddie Malone and Heike 360 in a bit of a contest in front of her as well. But we'll look at this now, Paul. and see exactly what went on as we jump into Vodafone replay. And I think she's there, but not enough. And yeah, I think just under braking, maybe they trip over each other a bit. She could have left a little bit more room on the right, and unfortunately that sent him.
Yeah, and this is what I've explained in the past when I've been racing, that yes, you do want to try and give yourself the best opportunity of opening up a corner when you've got a car alongside you, but you've got to think you are all racing over the internet. You've got to take into account that and just give that little bit of just extra breathing room, just to allow for if your internet connection does slightly alter as you're going alongside somebody. Speaking of going alongside, it's Matt Malone and Heuer360.
Jumping away as well as we look back to the front of the field. Quirk trying to hold on to the back of Casey Kerwin. We said him getting the penalty in the first race might benefit the reverse grid situation, but he's pulled him in by a second. And you can already see, even though we said the draft isn't that significant, still 8 minutes and 30 seconds to go. It's down to a half second to the lead, and Tyson closing in has Casey thinking twice, trying to break that toe already. He's running a little wide as well. There is a bit of a double apex line you can take to get a straighter run off the corner, so that's not the end of the world. I'd have to see if he's been doing that consistently, but it looked like he gave a bit of a tap of the brakes to get the front end in case he did that time.
Yeah, it's some drivers prefer that. Some drivers prefer just holding that tight line all the way through Luffield. Me personally, I prefer the two apex approach. And yeah, Casey Kerwin then on board with him, looking back at Quirk.
I just want to point out they're USA gloves, but they're made by a Canadian. Well, designed by a Canadian, Daniel Morad. So they might look American, but we all know he's a Canadian at heart. Casey, he wishes he was one of us. And I'm just saying this to spite Drew, who told me to mention the American gloves, our producer, in my ear. So there you go.
A little bit behind the scenes for you there, folks, as we go down into Stowe Corner. And it's still Quirk just holding that half second, though, is Casey Kerwin. So at the moment, it's not really closing up this lap. But it's then you look further back, then it's this bit of competition further down. It's Javier Sanchez with Matt Malone, Emily Jones, Dan Suzuki. Jardier is involved now, along with Borja Zazo at the back of this group. So these drivers, it's been tremendous racing all the way through the field here at Silverstone here today. And these all-star drivers have been putting on a good show. Matt Malone, that's not traditionally an overtaking spot down into Abbey, and he's shown it. And Emily Jones says, thank you very much, I'll have that.
And this is exactly what we talk about. You try and make a move in these cars, and it sometimes costs you so much they don't have a ton of power to drive off the corners, quite like the Cup car or the GT3 car, and it just compromises so much of the exit. Matty Malone, who maybe Casey Kerwin's gloves are modeled after his livery, is going to give up the spot, nearly gets into the back of Emery, gets a massive slide, and here comes Dan Suzuki. And on the back of Dan Suzuki, you got last race winner Jardier making up ground. He might get 2 positions on this because Emery is not quite in the drive position. 3 into Luffield. Emery's got the hot seat. I think this one has to be Dan Suzuki, though. He's going to shuffle her out. She can still come back at this. She's still over top of the AstroTurf. I was going to say, I think the outside loses in this situation, so Dan Suzuki can hold on. Unfortunately, Jardier is going to give up the spot again to Matt Malone.
Oh, this is tremendous stuff. This is what this all about here. These all-stars, they're putting on a tremendous show. 3 wide, Emily Jones, maybe she had a slow down penalty. Oh, Matt Malone gets into the back of Dan Suzuki, and around goes Emily. Oh dear, right in the middle of Cop's Corner. Now, is she going to get going again because she's dropping down a timing screen?
Yeah, I haven't seen a sector time pop up indicating that she's crossed into the Meggetts and Meggetts, Beckett's, and Chapel complex yet. So, okay, now she has. So she is going again. She has gotten turned around. It just took a little bit of time for her to do so. But yeah, drops right back to 11th position.
And Matt Malone has some damage now from all of that shenanigans into Stowe Corner. You can see the front end not quite stock. Don't worry, take it to your local Porsche dealership. I'm sure they'll do a good deal
With these
getting that repaired.
GT4s, you actually very much can. You absolutely can go to a Porsche service center and get them to order in the racing customer parts for you with GT4. It's actually pretty cool. Not every manufacturer in GT4 does that. Not everyone has, let's say, a McLaren dealership, but some of the brands that are more well known, like Porsche, you certainly can.
I've just found out Emily Jones, she's stuck in 4th gear.
Oh no, so she has technical issues on the sim. Black flag 39, that's Jardier. That's our race 1 winner. He's just been handed a black flag penalty. That's massive. Dan Suzuki is going to be up to 4th position here.
Well, we've got 3 laps remaining in this race if they keep going. So right now, Jardier is going to be losing out. Here's a replay then. This is looking at everything in overview, and you can see, you can see that she's struggling. She was stuck in 4th gear, and she's already losing the car. And that's what can happen if you're in the wrong gear through a corner. And you can have the back end swing round on you.
I think I heard as well she got a slowdown. So the hip check going into Luffield put her actually, and I said she was still able to get back across the curb. It would have put her too far wide. She would have gotten the slowdown from that, despite that it was contact against her. And then on top of it, she has the 4th gear issue with her sim, so it all went wrong very quickly for Emery, unfortunately. So gives up the position. She did lose it on her own in the cops, I think, just the lack of speed and everything going on around her. And even though she got a little tap, not really on Borjazo on that one, I think it was just unfortunate that Emery was kind of catching him out with her lack of speed based on everything else. So yeah, unfortunate end to the race for her. But with about 2 laps left in this, 3 minutes and 16 seconds, we've got to show you the double box, because not only do we have a race for the lead, but we've got a contest for 5th right now. And Matty Malone refuses to give up the back of Dan Suzuki with Borjazo on this one as well.
Wasn't it the opening round where Emily also had a gear shifter problem as well? So, yeah, maybe that's coming back to her. Meanwhile, you're absolutely right. Casey Kerwin under some serious pressure right now. Quirk behind. Clipping those curbs. You've got to be so careful with these sausage curbs around here at Silverstone. And Jardier deciding to take a drive-through, the drive-through penalty that comes from hitting your instant limit. So rather than taking a time penalty at the end, and that's one of the bonuses of this Silverstone layout, the pit lane is actually quite a significantly shorter way through than if you were going on the racetrack.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, in many series, they have to lower the pit lane speed limiter to compensate for that, because obviously you enter out of Stowe and you therefore skip Vale and Club, and it's a significantly shorter distance. So they drop the speed limit of the pit lane to make sure that no one, otherwise you could just run laps of the pit lane all day.
Well, Ayrton Senna got the fastest lap at the European Grand Prix in 1993 by driving through the pit lane. Now, that was pre-pit lane speed limits.
Yeah, which is absolutely mind-boggling that was ever a thing, by the way.
But he did that because at the European Grand Prix that year, the pit lane entrance cut the inside of the final hairpin. He then went down pit lane. He claims that he had heard a radio call to come in, but the team weren't ready, so he carried on and ended up setting the fastest lap.
Luckily, there was no point for fastest lap back then, because that would have been a controversial one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Quirk has just dropped back a little bit from Casey Kerwin in that race for the lead. The race for 4th, though, that is still rather intense, because Matt Malone is having to go a little bit defensive here from Borja Zaza. We've seen how Borja can be a little bit aggressive at times, but he is a very, very quick driver as well to back that up as they go out of Chapel down the Hangar Straight once again. Meanwhile, at the front two, we're going to have one more lap to decide who's going to win. Casey Kerwin, our guest driver here this week, against Quirk, who has been a real contender all the way through this series. Not bad for his first season in this championship.
Yeah, not at all. I'm very impressed by that, I have to say. And, you know, he's certainly a quick driver. He's got a great amount of I rating. He's up around 6,000 in that point. So he's clearly consistent among cars, and in competitive fields, he'd be a top split driver in pretty much every single series, bar some of the special events where you bring out sort of the 9K SOF, which is absolutely ridiculous strength of field. But yeah, no, he's a quick driver in iRacing, and that's why I think he's a front runner in this series. And Emery's going to have challenge this year with him, especially with days like today that just unfortunately unfolded for her.
Yeah, so down the into straight for the final time. You can see Casey Kerwin just trying to break the slipstream there. You can fall into a little bit of a sticky situation where you're weaving down the straight to try and break the slipstream. You're actually extending the length of the track by steering left and right down the straight for yourself. So you can actually end up slowing yourself down doing that too much. But Casey, he knows what he's doing. Through Woodcut, down towards Cop's Corner. About half a lap to go here. And Quirk, if he's going to make some moves, he's going to have to get the run out of Beckett's and Chapel and down the hanger straight towards Stir.
He'll try his best on this final lap, but I think he's a bit too far back, pending an issue. Perhaps a missed apex from Casey at this point, because once they get down towards Stowe, it's pretty much over at that point. He needs a run now. A little bit tighter on the apex as they head into Chapel. That'll give him a bit of a run, but I think Casey's got just enough of a gap. 0.4, and as we say, not a huge amount of draft in these GT4s, Paul.
Well, here we go then. Casey Kerwin trying to break that slipstream. Quirk not quite close enough. Into Stowe for the final time. Just 2 more corners to go here. And it is Casey Kerwin who is looking very secure. He's far enough ahead to not worry too much through the Vale and then into Club. Around this final corner, and Casey Kerwin, our guest driver, once again it's a case of a guest driver winning around here at Silverstone. Tyson Heuer goes and celebrates by losing it across the grass. Heike 360 brings that home in 3rd place. The battle for 4th, it is won by Dan Suzuki ahead of Matt Malone and Borja Zaza.
Bit of damage on the front of Matty Malone's car, but he'll take the result, absolutely. And again, credit to Dan Suzuki. From his armchair, he's showing that you can be an armchair racer. Oh, there's a very circle thing of Casey Kerwin to do, is it not? Not only literally doing circles, but the NASCAR victory style as he slips it around.
Well, here we are then. Let's head on over to the Buzz post-race show here. And, well, Matt, I mean, we saw some tremendous racing there. Let's get your results up on screen to show you who finished where. But it is Casey Kerwin, one of our guest drivers, once again able to win here today. Tyson Meyer, Quirk is in 2nd place, and a big gap back to Xavier Sanchez with Heike 360 there in 3rd place, rounding out your podium. Dan Suzuki, Matt Malone, Borja Zazo, they were all together. It was Jardier, Fiumusant, then Gaming Muscle and Maxime rounding out the top 10. Emery had some problems towards the end there, ends up in 11th place with Depilio, also not finishing a ride, not finishing that race. But we will be getting ready to speak to your race winner here. But first, having a look at your points, and that has been a good day at the office for Quirk. Has got now a 26-point lead over Emily Jones, with Borja Zazo just 4 points back from her. Jardier, after his race win in the first race, 4th ahead of Dan Suzuki, Heike 360. Matt Malone, Gaming Muscle, Jimmy Broadbent not racing here today, and then Tony Kanaan also not racing here today. Matt, take it away with your race winner.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Tony Kanaan, obviously, speaking of iRacing, off doing Brazilian stock cars this weekend, which are now in the game. Casey, look, I'll get to the win in a minute, but pro driver, my line, entitled to track, you and Daniel Morad, what was with the disqualification? Because obviously the track had the better of you in the first race.
Yeah, I didn't actually go off track too many times in the first race. I just kept forgetting about this whole ABS thing. I would kind of get into a braking zone and start gaining on someone and try and check up board, and I ran into him. I just stabbed the brake and would just get in the ABS, and I kept running over people. So yeah, I think I had like 12 incidents there. And then once I hit 14, I just drove off in the final corner, not paying attention, and then had a drive through on the last lap. So that's what happened there. Unfortunately, fortunately and unfortunately, it threw me to the front. So I wasn't kind of still with that same group, even though I guess I kind of got lucky being ahead of them, because Cork was running me down really quick. So yeah, that's what went down there, but it kind of worked in my favor a bit, I guess.
It did, yeah. And look, you're more versed, obviously, with the the circle stuff in iRacing. Not that you don't do road. Obviously, you're pretty adept there as well. But were these guys a little quicker than perhaps you expected? Because Quirk was pretty on you there at the end.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I knew, like, I've raced Quirk and Matt and a bunch of these people, and I've seen, you know, Emily and other stuff as well. But like I've never been around some of these people like Jardier. He was really quick. But yeah, it was really cool, and I haven't raced GT4 as much, which was like a whole new learning curve a little bit. But either way, I mean, I did plenty of practice, and they were all really quick, and I know Quirk especially, like, he's rapid at some places. So yeah, it was a great race though. The first one especially was a lot of fun, and then the second one, thankfully, I kind of just got out in front and had a bit of a gap to him that thankfully I was barely able to hold on to.
Well, you did, and it gets you a guest win, which is always nice to see. It gives us a chance to chat with someone new. And yeah, I mean, look, you're doing a lot of sim stuff this year, so busy guy, no doubt about it. Great to have you with us. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Very cool. And obviously the man who was running him down at the end, Casey Kerwin, just barely quicker, or quick enough, I should say, not quicker than Quirk, who was looking, I mean, look, you get those aviators on, just looking chill, not even really trying, and still got second.
Yeah, you know, it was great. You know, I got to say that first race was probably the best race I've had in a long time. It was fantastic. Everybody was sending it on each other, and there was just some respectful driving, giving each other just enough room to stay on the track just a little bit. So it was great.
Do you think that's the GT4, you know, a little ABS, but also less aero, less power? You kind of got to commit, because it certainly seems like if you went for a move and it wasn't on, you were a sitting duck.
Yeah. I think a lot of the GT4 races that I've done have been like that. They've been really good.
Yeah, I think it's a cool card. I love that you guys have to change it up too, because it brings certain people out, but yet the racing today, I think this was the closest qualifying grid that I've seen in any of the pros, you know, all-star races that I've done over the 2 seasons. So certainly put some pressure on it.
I think there's only like maybe 2 or 3 tenths of a second for like the first 5, 6, maybe 7 in the first race. It was crazy.
Yeah. You know, I was watching you driving out there. It was pretty tidy, so I can't call you Slider. Maybe you're Iceman, looking pretty cool right now. I don't know. Who's your pick right now for call sign?
Let's go with Goose.
That's unfortunate how that ends.
No. This is the continuation. This is the afterlife. We're gonna bring Goose from the back. We're gonna bring him back. Okay.
All right. I like it. Goose is cool. He was everybody loved Goose. I'm sorry. All right, cool. There you go. I love it. Good job. Right. Congratulations today. Dan Suzuki. I want to touch on this. I called you the chef today because you're cooking something up at the kitchen table. Talk to me about this week 1 thing you're doing.
Yeah, it was a little experiment because I get so many questions. Hey, how much faster is expensive gear? So I went just with a more basic, I mean, still a Fanatec CSL direct drive, but I just wanted to see how it goes. No load cell brake, no hydraulic, no nothing, single screen. Was interesting, but I'm also happy that it's over now and I can go back to my rig, to be honest.
Yes, I mean, you did well, though. I remember tuning into your stream. You were even like, I'm quicker. I'm selling the rig. Like it is really cool though, right? And look, you had a good race today. We could talk about that, but I think this is kind of cool for people watching, that you can be accessible and still make the most of sim racing, right? So
that was exactly the point in doing this experiment.
Yeah. What was the biggest challenge with it?
The lack of triple screens. I had no idea what the cars around me were doing. Like in some situations, I was just like, oh my God, like please don't hit anyone. And yeah, that was.
Did you bind your left and right? Did you use them at all?
I have them bound, but I'm just so used to not using them that I forgot it.
I never touched them either now that I have triples. It's crazy because the game obviously makes you bind them. But yeah, cool. Look, I think it's awesome you did that. I was rooting for it today. I think it's very important for people to see that as well. So good job and good message. Way to be an ambassador. Paul, that's our All-Stars done, but I think that was a lot of fun today. I loved the GT4. I loved Silverstone. I thought it was good racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Tremendous racing, as always. I think it's one of the best races we've had in the All-Stars here this season. And, well, I mean, if you want to go racing, get on over to iRacing.com. Get yourself a membership on there. But as we have a look at some of the highlights here, Matt, it was tremendous racing from the All-Stars. And it whets our appetite for what's coming. So, As we have a look at this, then we say thank you very much for joining us for the All-Stars. Make sure you stick around though, because coming next is the Porsche Heuer Esports Supercup. It is time for round number 3 of the 2022
Sorry, I
Porsche
thought we were
Heuer
soft-throwing there, so I
Esports
just let it go.
Supercup. Interlagos, the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache. Green flag, we're off for another round. Got good front row start for Sebastian Job. Jamie Fluke's getting jumped a little bit by Salva Talents. Oh, Pinto squeezes, little rub. Half is around there. He's off the track, Sebastian Job. A race winner finally in 2022. I think that's more relief from Sebastian than any elation. Round number 3 at a track that you, the audience, voted for, Interlagos, and I am glad that you voted for it. But the revs are rising. The green flag is in the air. It's a good start from the front row for Diogo Pinto. A terrible start from row number 2, though. That's a poor line through turn number 2. That's going to give Kevin Ellis Jr. the opportunity here. Nice and calm behind the wheel. You can just see him.
They're all side by side as they stack up.
The battle for the lead. There's been a change in the lead. Dane Warren's got to the front of the field now. Little contact between the two of them. Pinto's off wide. Warren goes through. Zac Campbell's trying to follow him. And we've got 3 for the front here. Ellis Jr. first place. He's got 0.3 of a second lead coming out as Junsao.
And we said this is his best chance for it. He's got the inside, he's got the drive, and it's well executed by Zac Campbell. With the final lap, he takes the lead.
But this one's not over yet as they head on down. But he's not looking at Kevin. He's looking at his apexes. He's running him out wide over the curb there. He's excited. He's on the radio. He's talking to his team. He thinks he's won this one. And you know what? He has won this one. Zac Campbell, a debut win for him in a feature race here at Interlagos. Well, what an exciting race it was last time out at Interlagos. And, well, we are here for round number 4 of this championship at Silverstone, the home of British motorsport. As you can see on this map, it's a really high-speed track that's got a really technical sector part-way through it as well. You see on the border of Northamptonshire and Buckinghamshire. And who better to give us a show around this track than Jamie Fluke, one of your Apex Racing Team drivers.
Hi guys, Jimmy Fluke here, driver of the number 49 Apex Racing Team car in the Porsche Gt4 Esports Supercup, and today I'm going to take a quick run through the lap of Silverstone for you guys. So to set up a flying lap, nice and easy through the final chicane here, quite nice and wide, and open up the final corner, get a nice drive onto the front straight. Spot the 100 board on the left hand side, onto the curve, brake, flick the car in, nice and smooth back to the throttle and open out turn 2. Small left through here, car wants to get a little bit light and then braking just on the 100. Down into second gear, pick up nice apex here. And same for turn 4, nice and tight, really important to pick up the inside curves here to allow us to get the best drive off the corner. Okay, turn 5, not an issue in these cars. And then onto the Wellington straight. Looking over to the right hand side, spot the 100 meter board, braking on it, drill braking all the way in, keep it nice and tight, pick up the throttle on the way through, quick straight, and then down into second gear, drill braking all the way in, short shift into third. You can leave it in third the entire way through if you want. The car wants to get light on the way out, just make sure you don't run into the gravel there on the outside. Coming now towards Cops, the full turn 1. Again, 100 meter board is our friend here, braking just right on it. Down into 4th gear, a little bit of inside curve, and the car again wants to get light on the way out. And then coming into the very challenging Magus Beckus Chapel section. So use the curb to get the car turned in. Down into 4th. And then we start to build a bit of understeer here, so we'll need to grab 3rd. Smooth onto the throttle, and then just watch the track limits here on exit. Come down the hanger straight, This would be the primary place where overtakes can happen, or at least start. So just after the 150 board, nice and strong onto brakes initially, and then quickly bleeding off the brake, trail in, nice early apex, and use the curb to rotate the car. A little bit of slide on the way out, and then coming into the club and Vale section, braking just before the 100. Second gear, car can run a little bit deep there. Smooth onto the throttle, up into third gear. And then small lift for the final corner, over the line, and that's a lap of Silverstone in the 992 Cup car.
Well, thank you very much to Jamie Fluke for giving us that little bit of an insight into how to do a fast lap around Silverstone. Well, we are going to be just a few moments away from the fourth round of the Porsche Heuer Esports Supercup. So to get you into the mood of it, why not have a look at our drivers?
$200,000 on the line. Who will rise to the challenge? This is racing for immortality. This is esports personified. This is the Porsche Gt4 Esports Supercup.
Well, after 3 exciting rounds of the Porsche Gt4 Esports Super Cup, we are here for round number 4 at the home of British Motorsport, Silverstone. My name is Paul Smith. Alongside me, as always, is Sadakis. And, well, we've yet to have a repeat winner this season. It just goes to show just how so close this field is this season.
Yeah, absolutely. No Josh Rogers, who was the dominant force and a repeat winner commonly in the previous seasons, also was constantly getting pole positions. We haven't had a repeat pole position yet either. We have had a trend that every single driver who has gotten pole has gone on to win the sprint race. So we'll see if that continues today as well. Probably the most overtaking opportunities at Silverstone versus all of the other circuits we've been to so far this year. So that might be a more difficult task, but the points battle is heating up. Sebastian Job, after a good round, finally last time out, is back in the mix. Cooper Webster still leading the rookies. Red Bull's going to want to redeem themselves even further this weekend, and they've got some very, very hot hands in front of them trying to prevent that from happening.
Absolutely. So it has been truly an exhilarating season here. And, well, let's have a look at the drivers who have held pole position the previous 3 rounds. So Dane Warren then, in the opening round of the championship at Hockenheim, won a sprint race. Diogo Pinto, Barcelona, won the sprint race. Sebastian Job, he was so happy with that result last time out in Interlagos, and again, won the sprint race. So will we see a repeat? Will we see a first repeat pole position of the season as well?
Well, just to give an update as well, because we mentioned that Sebastian did such a great job in qualifying, Graham Carroll did not. Last time out, after leaving Yuncao at Interlagos, getting the run onto the front straightaway, Graham finally on his hot lap had a zoom pop up that forced his game into a single window. And unfortunately, that killed his drive. So just to give an update on that, because we never really did get to the bottom of that and what happened on that lap, he was well off the pace. So this week, he'll be looking for redemption as well. And as I mentioned, we were just at Barcelona, or excuse me, at Interlagos. We were Barcelona before that, but here's a look at where we've still got to come up on the schedule, Paul, because there's some very, very key circuits and some very iconic circuits still ahead of us.
Absolutely. Well, we head off to the Styrian Mountains of the Red Bull Ring in just a week's time, and then 2 weeks after that, head across the Atlantic to Circuit Villeneuve.
I'm inviting you all to my country.
I'll gladly take the invitation. Thank you. Is then Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps for the next round with Nürburgring, Circuit de la Sarthe, and then finally ending off with Monza. I mean, you've got some really, really quick tracks in all of that coming up, so plenty of opportunities for drivers to get some moves done. And, well, to just let you know how things run here today, so we've now got qualifying for 12 minutes. The drivers have got themselves 3 fast laps to be able to set themselves a qualifying time, and then the sprint race, it's 10 laps long around Silverstone. After that sprint race, the top 8 from the results of that sprint race then get inverted for the main race. And the main race is double the length, 20 laps long. Pole position, of course, with the Tag Heuer pole position award, as always, as we've had since the start of the championship. And of course, that winner does get themselves a Tag Heuer connected watch. Everybody wants one of those, and and so far, as we've highlighted so far in this pre-show here, Matt, we've had 3 different pole sitters, so nobody can stake a claim to that prize yet.
No, and interestingly enough, it's worth noting Dane Warren had the first pole position in sprint race win of the year. He's fallen off quite a bit. He's only had 1 other top 5 finish, and that was in the sprint race last round. So he still sits top 10 in the championship, but it just goes to show the inconsistencies we've seen this year and one good weekend can set you apart. The reason Diogo Pinto is doing so well at the top is, if you look at the consistency, 3rd, 4th, 1st, 14th, the outlier, that was at Barcelona. There was a lot of contact, obviously, and a lot of drama there. And then 8th and 3rd. And then likewise, all top 10 finishes for Jeremy Brucello behind him, but no wins. So like we said, Sebastian Job back in it with one good weekend. Guys that can do that this time out, Alejandro Sanchez. Looked like he was going to have a better start to the season. He's fallen off a little bit. Watch for him today to try and get some solid points. A couple of the other guys in the field that probably should do. I think Johan Hart's shown decent pace, but hasn't been able to put it together. But Graham Carroll, second in our first feature race of the season, has the most penalty points applied of any driver this year, has negative 20 off of his total, and he definitely needs to turn things around.
Yeah, it certainly does, as the drivers are out there preparing their cars for qualifying. Jamie Fluke, who gave us that tour around Silverstone in our pre-show, well, he had a really good outing last time at Interlagos, and he will be hoping for more of the same here this time around. But Silverstone, here's your points to be able to see. You look at that, just 7 points covering the top 3 right now as things stand. Zac Campbell, after that win last time out, is 17 points off of the lead. You go all the way down. I mean, it's 15th is within a 100 points. So this championship is still wide open here this season.
Absolutely, and keep in mind for qualifying, there is points down to 5th position, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. So 10 for 1st and 2 for 5th, respectively. Lots of points on offer if you ace the weekend, Grand Slam, whatever you want to call it. There is no point for fastest lap. However, there is 10 for qualifying, 25 for the sprint race, and 50 for the features. So as you say, 100 points deficit. You can get 85 if you ace the weekend. So it's not as significant as you think. It's not, you know, Formula One where a 25 is all that's, a 26, I suppose, if you get the fastest lap, is all that's available. No, you can make a big chunk of change up in no time here.
As we look at the man who's about a 40-minute drive away from where I am right now, going around the circuit preparing his car, Jack Sedgwick. He's getting prepared for this one. One driver that we do need to mention, 3rd place in the championship and the opening feature race winner of the season, Ayashan Guvan, is not here today. This is one of the rounds that he cannot commit to, unfortunately, so that will drop him down the field. But given how close this championship is, you cannot write him off.
No, absolutely not. No, and he mentioned that at the top of the season when we saw him pick up the victory at Hockenheim to start things off. He's obviously now a full-fledged Porsche factory driver. Previously was a junior last year when he was in this series, and he's running the ADAC GT Masters this season, and I believe they're at Nürburgring this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. I saw him post a photo from Schwedenkreuz on his Instagram, so he was out walking or sightseeing of the old Nordschleife circuit. So yeah, he's definitely, obviously, as much as he would love to be here, and this is an important championship for him, no doubt about it, Porsche takes sim very, very seriously, even within their pro driver ranks, not just as its own entity. The real life commitments for him are the obligation. So yeah, not with us, but there you go. There's another driver everyone can make up some gains from.
Well, Jeremy Brucello, he has had a real resurgence in this car, hasn't he, this season? He announces that he's retiring from the full-time pro driving. He's still going to carry on sim racing, but he's retiring from full-time pro sim racing at the end of this season. And it's been a real boon for him, hasn't it? This opening of the championship, 3 rounds in, and he's only just behind your championship leader.
Absolutely. Yeah, maybe he reconsiders that decision. Hang on, I'm not as slow as I thought. I'm back. Please sign me again. No, look, you're right. He has other stuff he wants to do, and is very involved in sim racing in more ways than just this series, but also has some real life stuff. Now, just to remind you all, as we look at Quinton Violette coming down the front stretch and in toward the Abbey corner, the Hamilton straightaway, as I should call it, rightfully so now. The white banner, white wing, indicates that he is one of the rookies in the field. Quite a few rookies this year. There's also a lower part of the number plate, but those a little bit harder to spot. But he was one that I thought was going to be our rookie to watch at the start of the season, Paul. He had an excellent first outing, 5th place in the sprint race at Hockenheim. And yeah, there you go. You can see the regular drivers with the black wing and the black window banner. 5th place at the sprint race in Hockenheim, but then 30th due to contact, and he just never really recovered. Only one other top 10 to speak of. He's down in 4th in the rookie standings.
Yeah, he certainly is at the moment. By the way, you're not missing anything here yet. None of the drivers have set themselves a lap here. They're just getting the cars, the tires, and the pressures in those tires up to the correct working range for them to really attack. And it really does put a little bit of pressure on these drivers because they're giving themselves just one lap to set their fast lap here. So really, it puts a lot of pressure on the shoulders of these drivers, but they're expected to deliver at the top. At the top of esports, any top esports competitor, you've got a certain expectation, haven't you?
Absolutely. Yeah, no question about it. You are in these positions, whether you qualified as an independent, as we saw last year. Matti Kaitasaya actually did, and then was signed to a team afterwards. A lot of these guys are in stables. Porsche 24 team Redline, for example, as we see on board right now. Jeff Giassi doing a lap of Silverstone. These guys are doing PESC. They're doing multiple series. They're doing the endurance races. They are set up and put in a position to succeed and supported by these organizations now and these teams. And yeah, absolutely, it's your job. It's you have to show up. No question about it. As we expect, we're going to start our flying laps as the time ticks away now in the qualifying session. So Alessandro Bico going to be our one to start us off, one of the rookies in the field.
Yep, so into Abbey he goes, and he is pushing. This is his flying lap now, looking on board from his viewpoint here through Village. Get the car over to the middle of the track, tight left-hander at the loop. Second gear, you can see it there on his dashboard. Through, flat out through Aintree. Make sure you stay within the track limits. And everybody by now knows my thoughts on track limits, but he heads down the Wellington Straight. Bobby Zelensky, well, he is somebody who is back in the series this season. He's on his fine lap, so expect to see the timing tower in about a minute's time start getting a flurry of activity here.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to see Bobby Zelensky back in this series, as you say, one of 3 Americans that we've got this year. If my math checks out, I know I completely forgot Mitchell DeYoung in the stats last week. Obviously, he's not racing this year, but he was an American race winner. Zac Campbell, the most recent in that category. Bobby Zelensky, and then of course you have also with us in this series. I'm just getting told Berryman's gone purple in sector 1, but Brian Lockwood, the other of the Americans. So here's Peter Merriman, as we're going to jump over to him, as he's looked very sharp so far to start off this lap for Apex Racing.
Well, he's been racing along with Sebastian Job, Kevin Ellis Jr., Graham Carroll. He has been racing in the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. Their opening round of the championship was right here at this very venue. So Peter, he knows his way around this track with this car, and here's another one, as I say, Sebastian Job. So these drivers, you would imagine that they will have raced here more than some other tracks, especially with them being British drivers as they were coming through the series. And well, Alessandro Bico, that is the target that we are getting set now. Maximilian Benneker across the line. He goes fastest here in qualifying. I said we're going to get a flurry of activity at the front of your field. Zac Campbell, second place. Forget that, because Diogo Pinto goes there. The times are coming in thick and fast. Josh Thompson, 6th place. That's a really good lap time for the Manxman. Here's Pete Berryman, though. He was fastest through the first sector. Can he finish off this lap and get pole position? The answer is no. 10th place.
Yeah, he lost some time. I mean, it's such a fine margin, isn't it? Just 2/10, but that's a mile in a single make series, as we see Sebastian Job heading out and crossing the line as well. I'm not sure if that's going to put him up. Did he get an X on that? I didn't see a lot. Oh, he goes pole. I was going to say, I didn't see his name jump up the board anywhere. It was just slow to hit the timing tower, but he's 0.024 ahead of Benneker. You said we haven't had a repeat pole position man yet this year. Well, we might be on for one now, Paul.
Well, time is running out, and there's only a couple of drivers out there on track still. Sam Keitert is another one of those drivers looking to finish off his lap right now. At that final corner, come across the line. Will he get up the field? Up to 24th for him. Jordan Caruso, I don't think has set a lap time and he comes across the line now, and that is going to put him at 27th. Not an ideal time for him. So that's everybody with their lap times in, and it does mean that we have got a repeat pole position. Well, we should do, pending any we're just waiting for it to all go official to us. But Sebastian Job, what a lap time, pulled that out right there at the end.
And huge for him, as we continue to mention. He had a dreadful start to the season at Hockenheim, taken out in the hairpin in the feature race. Follows that, he obviously was fourth in the sprint race to start it off. Followed that up at Barcelona, where his teammate causes an incident, sends Charlie Collins spearing forward, and it ends up taking him out of the race. That was a disaster. And then last time out, he gets pole in a sprint race when he gets the first double pole this year of any driver. But I want to give a huge shout out to Maximilian Benecke as well, because Benecke has been someone that I've highlighted as struggling so far in qualifying. Great racer, but has been not putting the lap down when it matters. Being in second today, he's going to be one to watch. And championship leader Pinto with Thomas Tetela, huge improvement in fourth.
Sebastian Job, then that should be his fourth pole position of his Porsche Tag Heuer Esports career. Second of the season here in the Tag Heuer Pole Award winner for this round. So he'll be delighted with that. Here's your grid then. It is Job from Benecke, Pinto and Tetela, with Zac Campbell and Charlie Collins rounding off room number 3. Row 4 for Warren Ellis Jr. with Graham Carroll. Row number 5 with Johan Haaf, Pete Berryman and Alejandro Sanchez. Gianni Vecchio and Jeremy Brucello will be disappointed with that. Jamie Fluke, not a good one. Alongside him is Josh Thompson, Matti Sipila and Dino Lombardi round out row number 9. Row 10 for Marina Sarika and Jeff Giassi. Bika and Talons share row number 11. And row 12 for David Williams and Sam Keiter. Jack Sedgwick, row number 13, shared with Bobby Zelensky, Jordi Caruso and Julian Sonnen in row number 14 with Oscar Bixrud and Alexander Volters. And your final few positions. Quentin Violate, oh, he'll be not happy with that performance. Kamil Grabowski, and then Brian Lockwood rounds out your 33-car grid. So we're getting set here for the sprint race here in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup, the BRDC clubhouse that you saw there. Of course,
you're the president of BRDC, aren't you?
If they wouldn't let me walk through the door, mate. But the BRDC, of course, the owners of the Silverstone circuit, and we're getting ready for the start of this one. What do you think? What are your thoughts, just very quickly?
Oh, Benecke up there, you know he's aggressive. You know he's going to be challenging for the win against Sebastian Job. And as we said, most overtaking opportunities of any circuit we've been to so far this year. You've got Pinto up there as well, championship leader. See how safe he is, Paul.
Green flag in the air. Away we go for the start then, and it's a poor start for the 93 of Charlie Collins. They get away down towards turn number 1 then. Well, Thomas Tetela didn't even get to the start.
I saw his car join and then leave, and I think he has a technical issue because Thomas Tetela, he's the guy who needs a good result. He's down in 16th in the championship. This was a huge qualifying. Oh, no. Peter Berryman already off, someone we were highlighting earlier in qualifying as one that was on a good lap.
Yeah, and I think we've had enough of one having an incident as well, because Dino Lombardi has dropped down my timing sheet here as we go down the Wellington Straight for the first time. It's Job from Benecke, Pinto, Campbell, Warren and Ellis Jr. And look behind, because we've got 3 wide going in towards Brooklands for this first lap. Everybody trying to find themselves a space and trying to find themselves as many positions as they can possibly get here in the early going, because they know once you get into that rhythm, once you get into that routine, it becomes a bit more difficult with the cars getting more and more spread out. Charlie Collins moving back ahead of Johan Haaf there on the left-hand side. But look at that, Job just trying to pull away from Benecke, who we're focusing on right here, into Maggots and Beckett's for the first time. Pinto behind him, though. Championship leader. He's looking very good for some good points here.
Worth noting, 32 cars running. There's 35 on the grid. Typically, as you mentioned, Aich and Gouvet not here this week for other obligations. We lost Thomas Tetela. We don't know why. Qualified 4th, did not take the start. The third driver missing is significant. He has twice as many points as any other rookie. Cooper Webster did not take the grid today, is not here for Red Bull. That is our lead rookie in the championship, not present here at Silverstone today.
That is big. That is for sure. as I'm sure I saw a little bit of too wide action in the background of that shot, but we go across the line. Johan Half is on pit road. Don't say he's got a penalty on this opening lap here. So let's see what's happened to him. But as we carry on then, it is Job, Beneker, Pinto, Campbell, Warren, Ellis Jr., Carroll, Sanchez, Collins and Vecchio. That's your top 10. And there's some looks being made right now by Zac Campbell.
Back at the start. Pretty clean off of it. We can hear the revs were well up in there. Oh, a little bit
it was a jump
jump.
start.
That is a jump start. Absolutely. You can see him beside Peter Berryman. And then is he the reason Peter Berryman got into it? No, wheel spin in front. I believe that was Charlie Collins going backwards ever so slightly. But then, yes, he did give Berryman a bit of an assist out toward the sandbox. So unfortunate, Peter Berryman gets caught up in that and penalty dished out. I imagine potentially even more penalties post-race.
As we look a little bit further back in your field, Jeff Giassi in 18th place, battling away with Bobby Zelensky. And these two with Alessandro Bico right behind, putting the pressure on. Bico, though, has got Jack Sedgwick, the Brit, behind him as well. In towards Cops once again, and these drivers are all competing here. They're all trying to get the point, because remember, in the sprint race, down to 20th is where you score points. So Bico has currently got that last points paying position. Jack Sedgwick and everyone behind him wants it.
Absolutely does. Yeah, not only the final points paying position, but it's just going to position so much better for the second race. Remember, we do have a reverse grid in the Porsche Esports Tag Heuer Supercup as well, and it is the top 8. This is the position we are looking at. Alejandro Sanchez, lap 2 of 7. It's a pretty short little sprint race when you consider the pace and the intensity of these guys. He's going to want to get by as quickly as possible, and Sanchez currently holding that over Collins, who went backwards off the start. So you'd expect that Collins has the pace, but can Sanchez hold him off?
To go across the line once again, start of the third lap here then. Sanchez, he wants to hang on to that. Of course, he has won races previously in this series, so he knows what it takes to get a result here. And Sanchez working his way through then for the SDK Gaming outfit. Won his first ever race on British soil, but look at that side by side, and there was a little bit of rub as well from them as we cut to Sebastian Job. And in fact, you can see on your timing tower on the left hand side of your screen, Collins did make it past Sanchez, and I think there was a little bit of rubbing going on. Through Luffield we go once again. So Sebastian Job, he is currently your race leader here in the sprint race. Sprint race winner last time out. He's got pole position these previous 2 rounds in towards Cop's corner once again. But Max Beneker, it's been far too long since we've seen a race win from Max. We've got to go back to 2020 to see his last one.
Well, and I'll go back to the sentiment I've echoed several times. His qualifying has been his demise, and that goes to other series we've seen him in lately as well. He has lost that one lap magic, but today pulls out a beautiful lap, misses out on pole by 5 1,000ths of a second, and or 5 100ths, I should say, excuse me. But this is exactly what he's been missing. We know he's so good at race pace. We know he's so good at putting pressure on other drivers, and now he's absolutely in this with a shout.
Dane Warren, 5th place that we're focusing on here, though. He was our opening sprint race winner in this season. Locks up the brake into the Vale, and that's going to allow Kevin Ellis Jr. a little look. And, well, Graham Carroll says, oh, I want a piece of the action now. Through he goes. He forces Ellis Jr. wide. A little bit of a wiggle. And Ellis Jr., I think, is going to go backwards here because Sanchez now down the inside. He's lost out a couple of positions through that.
I had to check in with the Red Bull stable and get some information on Cooper Webster. He was actually unable to make it back in time. He races S5000 in Australia, which is essentially the Australian IndyCar. It's their fastest open wheel circuit that they have. He's 2nd in points right now in that championship as well. Cooper Webster was 3rd this week in qualifying, but couldn't quite make it back in time for PESC. So real life duties, just like IH and Gouvain, getting in the way of his opportunity of being here today. But as we said, he's got a massive opportunity and a massive lead in that rookie standings table. So it may not be the end of the world for Cooper, but it does take a bit of preparation away from the Red Bull team into this weekend, as we know that didn't affect Sebastian in qualifying, did it, Paul?
It certainly didn't, but here's the instant then. First of all, with the driver Julien Sonnen down at, that was down at Luffield. Now here is Kevin Ellis Jr. trying to hang on to that position. Graham Carroll comes along inside. They seem to get a little bit stuck together there, and Charlie Collins says thank you, and Xavier Sanchez also gets by as well. And that means that Sanchez now is back into that inverted grid pole position place right now.
Absolutely, yeah, no question. This is looking pretty decent in terms of that position for Sanchez. Collins up too, Ellis Jr. I mean, there's so many names this year. There's so many opportunities for anyone to be a champion in this series. I think this is going to be the closest fight we're going to have throughout the course of a season. Need to watch those track limits. A little bit of the AstroTurf allowed on the exit from Stowe as they'll head into Vale for what is now the fourth time, I should say. Math is hard. Okay, there's 7 laps, 4 to go, Paul. I'll figure it out eventually. But yeah, still Sebastian Job at the front. No need to make anything too exuberant, too early for Max. He's still there, 1/10 back. Perfect position to attack when the time comes.
Max Benneker, of course, who won the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Deutschland last year. So he knows what it's like to win a championship and be involved in really high-intensity battles out there in this series. And, well, Max, he really is. He knows what it takes to compete at the top level. He now has that championship winning experience in the Porsche from last year. Didn't have the best of starts to this season, but now he can smell an opportunity to try and get a win here.
Absolutely, you can. Yeah, and again, another driver that's currently sitting 9th in the championship. Had a very good Spanish round at Circuit de Catalunya, but otherwise, as again, just like many, has had some off weekends. I really think anyone can string some consistency together in this championship, and they're going to be in it. They're going to be in it for an incredible result. As we look at last rounds, I should say, feature race winner, Zac Campbell. We mentioned as well the high temps at Brazil certainly favored him because he's very smooth, and you can see it here through Beckett's, and then now into Chapel. We heard at the start from Jamie Fluke at how the car develops the understeer. You get in there, the aero doesn't quite suck you to the ground like it does in a Formula car or even the GT3 cars, and you want to carry that speed. Well, you need to pluck third gear. You need to let the diff bring the front end back down, and he's just sitting and biding his time. But now we're seeing Max Benneker do exactly what we would have expected sooner or later in this race as he gives a challenge to Sebastian Job.
The rivalry is heating up at the front of your field here. Sebastian Job, Max Benneker, and Diogo Pinto has just sat there patiently along with Zac Campbell. They're just waiting for any chinks in the armor here, and they'll be trying to work their way past and take an opportunity. And when those opportunities arise, you've got to take them here in this series. Right now, Job hanging on for the time being ahead of Benneker, but Benneker's showing his intent here. He's showing that he wants to try and make some moves, and Job, he just wants to try and get 2 sprint wins in a row to really sort of recharge and re-energize his championship contention. Down the Wellington Straight, trying to break that slipstream, but Max Benneker follows him everywhere he goes here, almost like an Alsatian, just following you everywhere you go there. And well, race for the lead then on that top screen, and look on the below there, 13th place we're looking at right now. It's Marina Sarica who's in the 13th place, but Josh Thompson, Sam Kiter, Matti Sipola, Salva Talons, and the whole queue of cars are behind, trying to race with him for that 13th place.
I mean, it's crazy just how close this is all the way down. Jeff Piassi, a very quick driver in his own right, 18th position right now, but still just 7 seconds back of the lead. These guys are basically one solid snake right now, a game of Slither, just waiting for someone to make a mistake so they can gobble them up at this point. And that's exactly what Beneka's going to have to do now with Sebastian Job, as he's fallen back in line at the front of the queue. Diogo Pinto not wanting to trip over his teammate, knowing he's got a championship lead that's actually quite good over these two, and without Gouvin here, with Brucello a little further down the order in 11th right now, he's in a good point scoring position, so he's not going to be necessarily as desperate or keen to make a move. But Zac Campbell continuing to climb up that chart in 4th position might be. So there could still be some changes toward the end of this race as we're about to cross the line for the final time, or heading on to the final lap, I should say.
Yeah, here we go then. Start of this final lap. Sebastian Job going offline out of corner in towards Abbey. 5th gear, right-hander. Through the left here at Farm, and then onto the brakes for Village. This is one of your overtaking opportunities, but none forthcoming so far. In towards the loop as well. We're looking back because there's also that queue of cars behind Graham Carroll. You've got Charlie Collins in 7th place, and then Alejandro Sanchez, who's in that inverted grid pole position place right now in 8th, but he's got Kevin Ellis Jr. not that far behind, and Gianni Vecchio, who's looking on Ellis Jr. as well. So we have got some intriguing little queues of cars out there on this final lap, but Sebastian Job so far at the frontier field, holding on for the time being.
Vecchio doing a favor for Sanchez there, just keeping, I think, Ellis Jr. a little bit busy. Whether or not he's close enough to make a move, that's debatable, but he certainly is going to be too busy to make one if he can continue to apply that pressure, as Beneka using every bit of AstroTurf possible and following in the shadow of Sebastian Job right now, but he wants to emerge from that. Down toward Cops is where I would expect the move if we're going to get one, Paul, and he's got a good run. He's in a good position now. Seb's going to have to nail Chapel. Gets the car. You can see that snap of rotation, the weight transfer going back over to the opposite side of the car, and he's desperately already trying to break that draft.
And you know what? Beneka's not even trying to stick in that draft. Down the hanger straight into Stowe for the final time in this sprint race. There is one more opportunity. Sebastian Job's got to be careful here, because Beneka can make a lunge down the inside if he's not careful. But Beneka's thinking the long game here. He wants to get himself some good points, and you can see Sebastian Job there in the little box. He's coming across the line. A little fist pump. He's happy. That's 2 sprint race wins in a row for Sebastian. One last time out at Interlagos, now at Silverstone. That's really energized his championship charge.
Yep.
The rest of your field, Alejandro Sanchez getting that inverted pole position. So there you see him, the 47 car. He'll be starting your feature race on pole position here. But this has been a really good return for Sebastian Job, as we see 2 cars that are not quite stock.
No, yeah, I think they've traded paint a little bit, no pun intended, because that those 2 guys look worse for wear. I'd have to say a hood missing, or should I say a trunk missing, the frunk of the
frunk,
Porsche,
yes.
as it is. No, that was a good battle, and Sebastian continues our trend of every single pole sitter winning the respective sprint race. And as a result of that, as you say, gets back in this championship hunt even further, as does Maximilian Beneka. I think the big thing that goes to Sebastian is there's no pressure yet. He's had such a dreadful start. Just drive at this point. Just get yourself back in it.
Yeah, do what you've been doing all along. Diogo Pinto, though, your championship leader, will be delighted with 3rd place there ahead of Zac Campbell. Dane Warren, Graham Carroll, Charlie Collins, and Alejandro Sanchez getting that reverse grid pole position. Kevin Ellis Jr. just missing out on that ahead of Gianni Vecchio. Rest of your field, Jeremy Bootloop, who came into this round 2nd place in the championship. Not the best of results for him in 7th place. And the rest of your field, then Johan Haaf getting that jump start, forcing him out of this one. Matt, you've got our race winner.
Yes, just so happens to be my little brother, Sebastian Job. Another pole position and sprint win. That's 2 in a row.
Yeah, finally got the season going a bit. Yeah, I'm really happy with this. I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit worried when I saw the warm-up times, like practice times, because everyone seemed really fast, but it seemed like the session was just quite grippy. Track was grippy, so yeah, quite happy to get pole, and then it's pretty tricky to overtake here. I have a feeling Max was on a bit higher wing, perhaps, because he really struggled to gain. But yeah, we had a little battle, but just about held him off. So yeah, very happy with that, and 2 in a row. So it's getting better. The pace is coming back finally.
I don't want to utter the word yet because right now there's no pressure. You just need to get results, but this certainly changes the table a bit, does it not?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm thinking about the championship. Nothing
All right,
else.
you said it, I didn't.
No, I mean, why would I be here if I wasn't thinking about that? So yeah, just, you know, these results are nice, they're consistent. That's what you need to win championships. You just need the consistent results, and that's two rounds in a row where I've won the sprint. So I think it's starting to look a bit better. I just got to stay out of trouble, and that's not fully in my control, but I'll do as much as I can to, you know, help it.
Well, perfect. Great start to the day. Start 8th in the feature. Best of luck to you. And Paul, I think we should look at the provisional table. As obvious, it goes without saying, those results are not finalized until the stewards look at everything. There is penalty points that are applied post-race. I do wish sometimes we had these on this graphic as well, because there's been a significant amount of them this year especially. But there's where it lies.
Yeah, Diogo Pinto pulling out that gap then over Jeremy Brucello. It was 4 points coming into this race. It's now grown to 20, so that's been a real boon for Diogo for this first race. And of course, he starts his second race ahead of Jeremy again. Zac Campbell, 3rd place. He's looking quite sharp this season as Zac, it must be said. Ayachan Guven, of course, not here this week, so we will see him fall down the field with Jamie Fluke, Kevin Ellis Jr. And look at that, Sebastian Job now only 45 points off of your championship leader. Maximilian Benneker as well. Don't write him off. He's moving in the right direction for him.
Absolutely. And Alejandro Sanchez, obviously, now going to be our pole sitter for the feature race. You can see him get a great total as well. Charlie Collins is right there with him on the front row, so that'll be a great battle to watch in this race. No question about it, though. I mean, guys like Ayachan Guven still in 4th, not even here this weekend. It goes to show the consistency, as Sebastian alluded to as well. You got guys like Johnny Vecchio, Thomas Tetzel, unfortunately, technical issue, and Graham Carroll as well was one that was looking better today and sharp. I can't maintain enough. It's open to play for. There you see that open grid slot. Poor Tetzel, I never made the start, and we had a jump as well, Paul.
Yeah, we did. You on half with the jump start in all of that. Charlie Collins didn't get the best of runs out of that. Speaking of not having the best of it, Pete Berryman ends up getting collected, as we saw the continuing bits of shenanigans further down in your field as well. But it was at the front where the racing was really intense, really close between Benneker and Job. We thought that there was possibility of a change of position here with this move by Benneker. None forthcoming for him though, so that meant that he finished in 2nd place. But we saw some tremendous racing out there in that sprint race, and certainly was an enjoyable one here, Matt. But well, we're looking forward to the feature race now. Double race here as we double the length here as we take a look at that track map.
Absolutely, the beautiful Silverstone circuit, as you say, the home of British motor racing. The changes made just a few, getting more and more years ago, but we include the lovely Wellington Straight and the arena circuit after start-finish was moved to the Hamilton Straight now as it's known, but a very high-speed circuit. Despite not much elevation change at all, it is still a technical challenge for, especially in a GT car, for the lack of downforce and the amount of momentum you have to carry. And yeah, interesting. Sebastian was saying not a lot of overtaking here because of the perhaps nature of those flowing circuits, but man, oh man, I think there's still some great positions, especially in the first sector. You can get yourself inside.
Well, here is your grid then. Alejandro Sanchez with Charlie Collins, Carroll and Warren with Campbell and Pinto, front 3 rows of the grid. Benneker and Job, your race winner from the sprint race, and then it's as you finished, Ellis Jr., Vecchio, Bootloop and Fluke. Then it's Sarika, Thompson, Kaita, Sipila, Talons and Giassi on row number 9. Row 10, Zelensky and Beaker with Jack Sedgwick, Oscar Bixrud, Jordan Caruso and Kamil Grabowski. And Lockwood, Sonnen, Williams, Violate with Volters and half towards the rear. Lombardi, Berryman and Thomas Tetela. Hopefully he makes it onto the grid for this feature race. But it's a 14-lap race here for us to watch. The revs are rising for the feature race here in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup, and it's a good start from the front of the grid for Alejandro Sanchez. Charlie Collins not the best launch off the grid again, and this is Graham Carroll's opportunity to try and get through alongside him for second place in towards Village for the first time. Will everybody be able to get through nice and clean this time? Well, they're all sorting themselves out one car off. That's Bobby Zelensky, is it? Yes, it is. Coming off, and 3-4 wide. There's a car stuck in the middle, and bang, we've got carnage.
Double hit.
Carnage at the loop.
Absolutely. Got hit again as well. I think Sam Keitzert's going back around. It may have been Bobby Zelensky again. One of the two team cars was definitely parked the wrong way as they got into the loop trying to avoid that contact. But you're absolutely right. Graham Carroll going early to try and make a move. Couldn't quite get it to stick on Charlie Collins. And surprisingly, perhaps fortunately for him, Dane Warren not quite close enough to get a sniff at it. But look at the Porsche 24 team Redline cars. They would absolutely love to move further forward in this field. Championship leader Diogo Pinto leading our second place man from the first race, Max Beneca, and in behind that, Sebastian Job. That is a powerful trio that is going to be hoping for opportunity in front of them.
Careful of your track limits on the exit of Copse Corner. If you go too far wide, you do get yourself an automated slowdown penalty from the simulator. Through into Maggots, Beckett and Chappell for the first time in this feature race. Sanchez from Collins, Carroll in third place ahead of Warren, then Campbell, Pinto, Beneca and Job is your top 8 with Ellis Jr. and Flug together for the Apex Racing team, 9th and 10th places. Down to Stir, your tyres are just about getting somewhere near a working temperature, but the tyre pressures are not quite there yet. You usually lap 2 before you start feeling those tyres working how you want them to with your setup.
Yes.
Through towards the end of the lap here, we're in a queue now, we're in a holding pattern.
So interestingly enough, I can say Sam Keitzert's still running. He's currently positioned in 14th position. That means poor Bobby Zelensky got shuffled out in turn 3 and then arrived at the scene of the accident in turn 4 of the loop. As we look back at the incident altogether, you can see the shuffling. Sebastian Job trying to get out, and then they just stack up. Unfortunately, the spin around in front, that was Bootloo gone, and then everyone just runs into it. Around goes, I think. Yeah, there you go. Poor old Bobby Zelensky.
And of course, Jeremy Brucello, that's a really bad turn of events for him, because that's put him outside of the points here. He was second place in your championship standings going into this event. He's all the way outside of the points, so this is a round to forget for Jeremy Brucello here. There's Pinto to the inside, and around goes Warren. Well, that's a controversial move if I've ever seen one. And Warren, he will be absolutely furious about that.
Yeah, Pinto's already got 10 championships points removed for penalty positions earlier in the season, yet still leads the way. He might get more for that one as well, as he gives him a helping hand. Shuffles poor old Dane Warren, who had a great start to this season, out of the way and has been slumping down the orders ever since. No fault of his own this time, I'm afraid to say. So yeah, I think Pinto's going to be given a talking to by the stewards after this one.
Well, it does mean for the time being that he is in 5th place ahead of his teammate there of Max Beneca. Of course, no team's championship here, but the teams, they do help their teammates out there wherever they can. But Beneca, he'll be wanting a good result out of this one as well. And Sebastian Job, well, he's benefited from that incident as well. He's moved up to 7th place in all of that.
Well, one of the other drivers unfortunately caught up in that first lap incident, Jeff Giassi, who's had an interesting season, definitely shown pace at times, but unfortunately today didn't go your way. Talk us through your perspective.
Yeah, it was a really good start at first place, and I could get a few positions, and then a pileup happened, and I was right behind an MSI car, and cars avoiding left and right, and just the car, I was too close, and he avoided the crash, and I was too close to his bumper to be able to react. So it's a shame. It's 2 red line cars involved in this pileup, but let's see what we have for the race next week.
Absolutely, and looking forward to that. Obviously, you yourself would love to get some more results, but the Porsche 24 team Redline crew definitely has a shot in this championship right now with a few different drivers.
Yeah, the team is really good. We work really well together, and the pace is there. I just need to find a better strategy myself to warm up the tires, and hopefully I can figure it out for the next week and have a better starting position for the next week race.
All right, thank you very much for joining us. Commiserations for today, but we hope to see you out next round. And Paul, as we say, yeah, definitely two of his teammates in the running for the championship. Diogo Pinto, obviously, we just scrutinized his previous extracurricular passing opportunity, shall we say, but leads the way. And obviously Maximilian Beneke, another one in that stable. So as you say, no team's championship, but the preparation, they very much rely on each other for data, for tire resources, for different setup changes and trials, all kinds of little things. Even as he's saying, warming up the tires, you can, ask one of his teammates, hey, what's your method? Maybe mine's not working the greatest. So there's lots they can do for each other. Well,
one thing that did happen whilst you were having a word with Jeff was that there was a change at the front of your field. Charlie Collins finds himself at the front here then, and Alejandro Sanchez fallen down to second place. He's got to be careful because Graham Carroll, he wants to get himself another good result here this season. In this one, he wants to go one better. He wants to get a win, does Graham. I can sense that from the way that he's been driving this season. He's certainly been really up for this competition. Down towards Abbey once again, but look at that fastest lap. Maximilian Beneke, he has got some pace out there still. We're on lap 4 of this round number 4 of the Porsche Gt4 Esports Supercup. And look at that down the inside, Zac Campbell. There was a door opened then by Graham Carroll, and Zac Campbell, you don't need to ask him twice. The American is going for the move.
Absolutely is. Graham, though, just long enough inside. He might be able to get a run back. Remember, as you head in to Brooklands, you can obviously then have it come back your way at Luffield. So this could still come his direction. No, wow, well done. Shuffles him out. A bit of an elbow, but that certainly is one way to take care of that situation. Make sure the corner comes back in your favor. So solid drive from Campbell, but definitely aggressive to get it done on Graham Carroll, who manages to hold off Pinto. But in doing so, holding Pinto up, we now have Beneke up the inside of him.
Yeah, we do. In towards Cop's corner. Beneke just bleeds off the throttle a little bit and drops in behind his teammate, and well, that is some interesting racing at the front, but somebody who hasn't had an interesting race. Matt, take it away with Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan Caruso, a well-known last name within racing for obvious reasons in Australia, but you known for the wrong reasons today. Jordan, talk us through what happened in that opening incident.
Yeah, I mean, well, in the feature, I jumped the start. I mean, yeah, it doesn't really get much worse than that. No points today, but just got to keep the head up, and hopefully next week will be better.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously the incident's not really much you could do arriving on the scene. It was kind of everyone funneling around the spun car. Was there any chance, perhaps, in retrospect, that you could have found a different hole, or was it pretty much nothing you could do?
Was I involved in the incident in the feature?
Oh, I thought you were not. Were you not caught up at the loop as well? I thought you were one of the cars involved in the DNF. So just the jump start, that's what's put you that far down. Okay, my apologies.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, well, either way, that's unfortunate. We had 2 jump starts today. Then, looking forward in your season, does it make a difference? You being in Australia and preparation and sort of having to be online with teammates in different parts of the world, and obviously having races at different times of the day.
It does make it tough, especially like if I did want to practice with teammates. Or from other countries, so trying to sort out a time zone does make it difficult. And waking up in the morning, like we got to get up at 4:30 if you want to do sort of a little bit of practice before qualifying. So that does make it tough trying to get your sleep schedule right. But yeah, it's sort of no excuse. I think it's definitely still possible. Dane's doing it really well, so yeah, just got to get on top of it.
Yeah, and it's certainly been not a problem. Although Josh Rogers was in Germany, but not a problem in this series for Australians throughout the course of this series. So very well done to Dane Warren. Unfortunately for Jordan, not quite his day today, Paul. Jump starts, yeah, we saw 2 of those today.
Yeah, we certainly did. Now, what we are seeing at the front of your field is Charlie Collins and Sanchez, Alejandro Sanchez, are just pulling away a little bit from this train of cars for 3rd place. Zac Campbell leading that ahead of Graham Carroll, Diogo Pinto, Max Beneke, Sebastian Job, Kevin Ellis Jr., Jamie Fluke. There's Marina Sarica there as well, Matty Sippler and Josh Thompson to round out that whole queue of traffic that's behind your 3rd place competition. But interesting for me, Charlie Collins never won a race in this series. His best result was a second place at Hockenheim in the sprint race here this season. I think he's due a win, is Charlie, especially how his performances went last season. Maybe not so much in the early going this season.
Yeah, absolutely the case. You know, Charlie Collins was a standout rookie last year, was rear gunner in the championship run for Josh Rogers, as we have a bit of a rookie battle going on here, a rookie sandwich, you could say, as Biko is on the tail end of it, but right in front, Keitzert leading Silva Talons at this point in time. That's the battle, or it's the contest at this point in time for 12th position on track. So, different position for Silva Talons to be in. Again, knowing the rookies, we're now 5 rounds into this championship. We're getting well aware and well sort of adverse to the competition. I know last year some of the veterans were saying racing against the rookies was a little bit more difficult, but there you go. The Sam Keitzert position right now, the white wing versus the black behind, that indicates that he is the rookie. Just quickly, Paul, I want to point out something that's very cool. We touched about not a team's championship, but all of them having team support. Now, Jordan Caruso, being a rookie in this field, is the only Altus Esports driver. Cooper Webster now obviously moved over to Red Bull. So even though he says practice with his teammates, he doesn't have anyone specifically in the series necessarily helping him on track per se, but he still has a team he can rely on. Someone who's a complete privateer at this point in time. Josh Thompson, the only full privateer in this championship, has struggled so far this season. He's way back in 32nd position in the championship. He's running 12th right now, so in a much better position this round.
Yeah, certainly is, and he's got involved in instants, hasn't he, Josh? And not all of his own making, it must be said, but 14th in the sprint race, and so far in 12th place here in this feature race. But speaking of the feature race, then first place, Charlie Collins there in the bottom left. Alejandro Sanchez, currently second place on the bottom right of your screen. You can look and see the concentration that both drivers are having to give this race, because we're reaching almost at the end of the next lap. We'll be halfway through this race. Collins with a little slide. You can see he's a little bit, he knows that he's made a little half mistake there. Sanchez has just got to keep the pressure on here and try and force a mistake out of Collins.
Yeah, interestingly, coming into this round, Dane Warren won our first sprint race. Charlie Collins was second. They sit 10th and 11th in the championship, so both of those guys have fallen off. This would be a great turn for Charlie in the championship. Likewise for Alejandro Sanchez. He finds himself down in 12th, so both of these guys looking to score some big points today, and both of them will start to think that way. I said we're 5th round in, excuse me, I misspoke. We're 4th round into the championship, but either way, we're getting to the halfway point of the season where you start to look at the addition and sort of the table with everyone. So you definitely are a little bit more aware of when to make moves and when not to. And even though yes, Charlie Collins is one position ahead of Alejandro Sanchez in the championship, it's not him he needs to beat. It's the other guys way ahead of him that you need to take points off of. So there's no need taking too much risk at this point for him. Not saying he won't necessarily go for an opportunity if there is one. They've got a bit of a gap, so he might be able to stick the nose in the inside a few times, but I don't expect anything too crazy between them.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a case of Alejandro Sanchez maybe just staying behind, keeping the pressure on Charlie Collins, trying to either force a mistake out of him or not to fight too hard, because
I think
of the fact that they've got not the biggest gap.
Well, so at this point, there is a gap. So the point is, yes, he can show the nose if he needs to, but I think at this point, you're halfway through the race. You're 7 laps still to go. Don't kill the tires. Both of them should just say, let's run this together. He should just he being Sanchez should just let Collins do his thing, just follow in tow and increase that gap. If they can get it up to about 2 seconds and then there's 3 laps left, watch for a battle.
Well, as we head on through then into the Vale once again, we're on board with Maximilian Benneker, the man who was second place in the sprint race. Let's give you some sounds of the race presented by Buzz. with action, and it is picked up here. There was contact here in this one. Graham Carroll has been shuffled down to 6th place. Pinto and Beneka come through. Sebastian Job now is behind his teammate. Kevin Ellis Jr. is getting involved in all of this. We said that things were going to start picking up a little bit, and Sebastian Job looking to the inside of Graham Carroll. No move made though.
No, Graham's got to be careful with that one. So does Sebastian. They want to make sure if they are going to swap, yeah, it's teammates. Yes, there's no team championship. Graham's looking for a redemption weekend, but he needs to not hold up Sebastian either in this situation or have them trip over each other. He gets shuffled down the order. I didn't see what started it. Brian Lockwood, meanwhile, retired and in the pits. We'll come back to that. I didn't see what started it. I assume out of Chapel, Graham got a slow run, and as they ran down in towards Stowe, things kind of unfolded because I could see them side by side as we were riding on board. Nevertheless, yeah, Sebastian Job now behind his teammate and the two Red Bull Roundhouse teammates as Pinto and Beneka swarmed, and this was the start of it into Vale, but they were side by side before that. Pinto actually did the switchback under braking as Graham Carroll was on the outside based on what I saw at Stowe, so that all started pretty early on, and yeah, a little bit of contact, nothing to write home about, little scrub of the nose, but 2 positions lost for Graham Carroll.
And it was that curb strike going through the Vale that Pinto pushed him into Graham Carroll's car. Carroll will feel a little bit aggrieved by all of that. He won't be happy with getting shouldered out of the way there. But now he's got to just get his head down, focus forward. Speaking of focusing forward, Alejandro Sanchez decides now is the time to make a move for the race lead. There's almost door banging between the two of them, and Collins, did he get a slow down penalty by running that far off at Stowe? But that's meant that Alejandro Sanchez is up to the front of your field here. Unbelievable scenes. So yeah, change of lead.
And it's exactly the gap I said. It wasn't quite 2 seconds back to Campbell, but everybody else, Pinto, Beneka, based on that Carroll battle, 2.7 seconds back. He would have looked at the delta and gone, right, it's now or never. So he goes, no slowdown, we're being told. So he actually just backed out of it. Collins didn't quite get the run he needed and didn't want to over contest in that situation, perhaps lose a further position to Zac Campbell just behind. And that, yeah, I think Alejandro Sanchez picked the moment. I think he knew that he had a chance. He could take a risk. He could go for the play and still pull it off. And now he's in the lead and a good little gap at 6/10, which I want to point out 2 laps ago, 11 cars in the field that did a 202.0 something, a 202.0x, and 1 to 11 did almost an identical lap time. So right now that gap, even though it's only 0.6, that's significant.
Certainly is. There's some tremendous racing going on out here. So let's have a look at what happened then for that move then. Here we are with the replay on the bottom of the screen, and Sanchez getting a good run down the hanger straight to the inside of Stowe, and then the two of them just a little bit of a squeeze. Nothing much in there. Collins, I mean, he would have been well within his right to stay alongside there.
Yeah, he did back out of that quite a bit, didn't he?
I think it did look more like a slow down penalty. Try and serve that as quick as possible.
I'd be surprised if he got one that far, like that. He wasn't that far out. I know there was contact, but that would be 1x territory more than a full slowdown, I would have thought. But I mean, either way, he did back out of it very much so. Perhaps thinking maybe Alejandro was going to try and sell one on him, would overbreak himself. Look at him trying to break the draft. A little bit of gamesmanship between them. That's all well and good. But Job has gotten by Carroll at this point. So he's up to 6th position, and he will continue the pursuit of the 2 red line cars in front. Red Bull versus Red Line.
Yes, certainly. So we've got the race for the lead then on the top of your screen there. Alejandro Sanchez ahead of Charlie Collins. I was actually, before this all started getting a bit excited at the front, I was going to point out that Zac Campbell had broken away from that battle for 4th place, and he was closing down the leaders, so he's really got the bit between his teeth. But there's the race for 4th place then at the moment. Pinto and Beneka together, they've been stuck together all race long of those two. Job behind with Carroll, Ellis Jr., Fluke and Sipola rounding out the top 10. Josh Thompson up to 11th place now here.
He's doing very well. Again, we mentioned Privateer. He was a Williams Esports driver in the past, so it's not like he's flown the flag alone for long, but certainly this year, as we mentioned, is in that Privateer position. Battle at the front closed down quickly. I mentioned that gap was significant. I thought they could hold off a little more, but the draft doing Collins a favor, pulls him back in, and you're right, Zac Campbell is the fastest of the three currently, continuing to try and chip away at that 1.1 second gap back. He takes another 10th out of it this time across the line. So looking sharp. Again, Zac Campbell, he sat second place most of the time in Brazil until the moment was right. We know he's good with tires. Is he on for something similar here?
Well, the track conditions are actually really favourable for the drivers out there. It is a very sort of spring setup for the track temperature for the UK, 26 degrees.
I thought you were going to say it's a very British day, and I was going to say, I'm sorry, it's not raining.
We do get sunshine, you know.
It took you a minute.
I was gathering my thoughts before I said something a bit more rude. But yes, it is a very sort of spring day here in the session. 21 degree. In fact, I'd say that's early summer, actually. Is that temperature? 21 degrees air temperature, 26 track temperature. So the tyres, the potential of overheating the tyres won't really be so much of a thing around this venue, but it's these long sweeping corners where you can really, especially the long sweeping right-handers at Abbey, at Copse Corner as well, through Beckett's, you're really putting a lot of force through that front left tyre, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah, and camber becomes an issue with that as well, and there is quite a significant fall off on the tyre model within iRacing when the tyre starts to go sort of below. I think it's a little further below 50% for these guys. They could probably drive it pretty comfortably to 40. You just, back the braking points up, carry a bit more momentum on it. Don't quite lean on it as hard with your inputs. Be a little slower and more deliberate. But this is, Roman Grosjean just getting the boys together for a photo op. R8G teammates back in about 23rd position right now. Just modeling the cars for everyone.
Yeah, 23rd, 24th, and 25th. So they hold the final 3 points paying positions. This is the race for 15th. Sam Keiter with Johan Haaf, who's having a real recovery drive. Started at the back of the grid. 14 places in for Johan. So really, really good performance from him. And David Williams, he's up 10 places as well in all of this. And he's behind this race for 15th right now. So they're in the points, they're in points paying positions. They just want as many as they possibly can get here, but a real gain of positions for Johan. He's gained the most positions in this race so far, and here we look at Matti Sippola sitting behind Jamie Fluke and in front of Josh Thompson.
Well, the front of the order not changing much. The only one that's lost out in the top 8 is Graham Carroll's gone back 4 positions, still sitting in 7th place, so decent points there. Might be a bit disappointed in the fashion at which he lost out, one mistake, and got trained by everyone, but it's Alejandro Sanchez that continues to lead the way. We mentioned that gap coming down. Zac Campbell's now 0.6 behind, but we've only got 2 laps to go. At this rate, he needs a bit of a skirmish to break out in front of him to really get involved in this.
So we've got Alejandro Sanchez leading, who has only ever won 3 races in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup. Only 1 feature race win to his name. You've got Charlie Collins in front of who we're on board with now. He's never won a race here in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup. And then Zac Campbell that we're on board with now, your latest race winner in the feature race for him at Interlagos last time out. He would love to make it back-to-back race wins for him in feature races here today, but this lead trio right now, they're not that far ahead of Diogo Pinto. Pinto can see them. It's not an immediate threat, but if they start tripping over each other, those Porsche 24 by Redline cars, they're going to be there to try and take advantage.
Oh, no question about it. Yeah, they're definitely well positioned if that were to happen. I don't think they're close enough to determine that fate on their own. They certainly need an outside influence, and I don't quite think we'll get that much out of it, but it's possible. The other aspect of that is they also have enough of a gap just slightly over Sebastian Job at this point in time, so I don't think they'll be able to do much of it. But back in 9th place, a contest going on for the position right now, as well as just in front of Matthias Sippola, the rookie, is Jamie Fluke, the man who gave us the onboard earlier, and this time he's got a phenomenal run heading down to Stowe.
Yeah, Matthias Sippola, who's been racing with Fluke all race long. He's trying to get that 9th place. I did see on the timing tower on the left-hand side that they were switching positions as they went through Luffield. So we're about to start the final lap of round number 4 of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup. Alejandro Sanchez leads by 0.3 of a second across the line ahead of Charlie Collins. Zac Campbell in 3rd place, just 0.4 further behind him, as we're going through the first couple of corners in towards Village for the last time here in this event. Through then towards the loop, get the run out of this corner. That's the crucial thing. Carry the speed out of this corner. A little slide from Charlie Collins. Maybe work those rear tyres a little bit too much throughout this race. Feeling the need to try and follow Sanchez, who's trying to break the slipstream in front. Down towards Brooklands for the final time. Not an overtaking opportunity, but Collins trying to get a run, trying to put the pressure on Sanchez.
And you can see what Zac Campbell did, ever the methodical man, shall we say, having, as I mentioned, engineered for some of his teammates and done some sort of pit wall work with the Coanda boys as well as VRS. He sat back. You touched on this in the All-Star race. When you weave, you make the straightaway longer, and he didn't think the draft was worth it. He just held his line, and I think he actually closed up a little bit in that situation. So he's going to be in this, but we're getting very, very close to the end of the argument.
So then towards this complex and Maggots, Beckett's using all the track and then some for Sanchez. Get it slowed down. 3rd gear through the final right-hander of Beckett's. Head on through Chapel. Carry the speed down the hanger straight. This is where you need that slipstream to come into effect. And look at the weaving from Sanchez. You've got to be careful not to do that too much. You may get the ire of the race stewards if you do it too much. Through Sturt, there's one opportunity, but I think Charlie Collins is a bit too far back to try and make a move. It would be a desperate lunge if he did. So Alejandro Sanchez has just got one more corner to go, and he will have a race win here in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup. Look at the joy on his face. Oh, he is so happy. That means so much to him. You can see that. Wow.
One of 2 Spaniards in the field. They're known for passion. Silva Talons, the other, was behind him in the championship coming in, but that is a huge amount of points for Alejandro Sanchez, and I think that's relief. I think he has had a lot of bad luck, arguably ever since I came in as a commentator in this series. Maybe I'm the problem, because you go back to Brazil last year, he gets taken out by Josh Rogers, and just about every single race after that, Barcelona, he had issues. Hockenheim this year, he had issues. He's been at the receiving end of contact in so many occasions. I think he's just, that's pressure, that's everything off the back. That is going to be motivation for him, Paul.
Well, let's take you to the Buzz post-race show here and give you your unofficial race results from the feature race of the round number 4 of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. And it is a race win for the Spaniard once again, Alejandro Sanchez. That's now 2 feature race wins in his career here in the championship. Charlie Collins, another 2nd place for him in this series ahead of his teammate Zac Campbell. Diogo Pinto, a little bit controversial with one of those moves to make himself up into 4th place, with Maximilian Benneker 5th ahead of the 2 Red Bull drivers of Sebastian Job and Graham Carroll. Kevin Ellis Jr., Jamie Fluke and Matti Sipola round out your top 10. Josh Thompson, really good result for the Manxman here today, finishing in 11th place ahead of Moreno Sarica, with Salva Talons, Alessandro Bico, Johan Half, your biggest mover in this field, up to 15th in the end ahead of David Williams, Pete Berryman, Sam Keiter, Thomas Tetela and Dino Lombardi. Dane Warren dropped down the field after that contact with Pinto, down to 21st. Kamil Grabowski 22nd ahead of Julian Sonnen. Alexander Walters, and your last point scorer was Quentin Violette. Jeremy Bootloop, who started this race in 2nd place in the championship, did not score a point in the feature race here, Matt. That is that is hard to believe.
Well, it's been the story this year. I mean, I mentioned consistency coming into this. Aichin Gouvain has been extremely consistent. Diogo Pinto as well, although a bit more of Diogo Punto today. And Bootsalou's fallen out. Everyone else after that has had a bad weekend, and that's why guys like Sebastian Job and this man right here, Alejandro Sanchez, have a chance of coming right back into this. First and foremost, Alejandro, how's your steering wheel rim? Did you break any connectors, with that shear?
I don't know if I hit it, but I hope not because yeah, well, I don't want to get another wheel. So yeah, I hope I didn't break anything. Car felt good while doing donuts, so yeah, I hope it's okay.
Yeah, it's all right. It's good to see the passion. I mean, Spain's known for it. This is your second ever feature win, which is hard to believe because you've been one of the features in this series for so long. I think 2 years ago you were third in the championship. I think actually second. I think you slipped past Sebastian Job right at the end. Last year, some bad luck. Does this feel like redemption? Does this feel like you're back? Silverstone certainly has been favorable for you.
Yeah, it feels like redemption for sure. Like we have some bad luck in the past couple of years at this point. Like last season and this season, I was involved in a lot of incidents where I was involved. I was at fault in some, but I wasn't in some others. So felt like a bad luck. But yeah, this feels really nice, and yeah, really thankful for all the work that the team put in. And yeah, I wanted to dedicate this to my father because it's Father's Day here in Spain. So that's nice. That's nice to be able to give him a win on Father's Day.
That's very cool. I see. Was he involved in motor racing growing up and part of the influence for you to get into sim and motorsports as a whole?
He wasn't the main influence, but he was really supportive through my career in sim racing. So yeah, really thankful for that.
Very cool. Very cool. I've been saying this time and time again, championships on. All you need is a few good results. Sebastian Job, we've been talking about him, sort of his redemption arc. This has to be the same for you now, right? And do you start to look at it that way, or is it no pressure, just keep getting results and then see where you are sort of 2-3 rounds from now when we get to the nail end of it?
Yeah, I'm just happy to be here. So
fair enough
at this point.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
congratulations.
Fun, so.
Yeah, well, look, that's exactly, I think, where the point of it is, right? You don't need to necessarily look at every race as do or die. Just work your way back in and enjoy it. And I think today, seeing that celebration, you definitely enjoyed it. So congratulations, Alejandro.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Second place, Charlie Collins led the race for quite a bit of time. Always tougher to lead, I think, in this series, given the spec nature of it. And obviously, you guys had a bit of a breakaway. He was always going to make a move. But this also another great result for you. Last year, you were the standout rookie. This year, I thought maybe you would lead the way for the stable. How have you rated your season, and how important is today in the standings for you?
Yeah, it's been a tough season. I can't lie. Feel like haven't had a clean round at all. I mean, it's just been round after round, a lot of crashes and something I was able to avoid last year. So yeah, it was just wanted to come in today and get a clean result, and manage that. Congrats to Alejandro, well driven. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but you as well, like you say, what's changed in preparation? Obviously, Josh, Mitchell, they're obligated elsewhere. They've moved on to other challenges and other series. And for you, did you feel pressure coming into this year, or is it just simply a practice change up? That obviously Cohen's got the esports hub now. From your perspective, what's been different? What's not clicking, I guess, should I say?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been very different without the guys. They bring a lot of experience to the team and a lot of work and effort, but I still think we're doing well. I think it's been really nice having Zac on board this year. He's really helped a lot with everything, and I think we've all had to kind of step up our game to accommodate for everyone leaving last year. Yeah, I just think we haven't been getting it right in quali. I think we've had a good speed in quali, just haven't been able to put the laps in. But I mean, good results today, second and third, and lucky for Dane. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a great amount of points for you, and congratulations on a job well done.
Cheers. Thank you.
Well, the other man he mentioned, obviously coming over to their team this year, third week in a row that you found yourself on the podium of either a sprint or a feature. And obviously last time out it was the victory. This time it's the third spot, but another great amount of points for you, Zac, who's been a rookie last year and now looking excellent in your second year in the series, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, it's gone pretty all right. That race was outside of me just not passing Graham cleanly like I should have. It was a solid race. I mean, it was honestly boring as hell from my point of view. I mean, I just kind of ran there. It's...
Sometimes that's the good ones, though, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was done with it. I had enough excitement last week, needed to calm down, Yeah, I mean, overall, solid day. I mean, that's what we need right now is just kind of solid days. It's one of my worst tracks, so I was pretty happy to come home with just a solid finish. And
a bit of hardware on your worst track isn't too bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too bad at all. So I'm pretty satisfied with the day. You know, I wish I was just kind of a little quicker, but you know, I mean, when it comes down to it, you know, you can't be displeased with third and wherever I finished in the sprint fourth. So yeah, not too bad at all.
Well, and without Jeremy Brucello scoring in the feature today, this will be a huge jump for you in the championship. IH and Guven obviously not here this week, as you'd be well aware. So
yeah,
it's all adding up. So great job again today for you.
Yeah, thank you, man. I mean, VRS car is really good. You know, everybody at Coanda and VRS does such an amazing job every week. We, you know, putting in the hours and it's paying off here. I'm happy to see Charlie actually have a good run as well. You know, he didn't get, you know, killed for 1 week, so it's good for him. I know Dane was up there. It's a shame what happened to him. Yeah, no, overall really good day for the team, and can't wait to get to Red Bull Ring in just a week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've got a pretty tight schedule of 3 races over 4 weeks. So Red Bull up next. That'll be a ton of fun. X's and track limits will be interesting there, no doubt about it. But good job again today, Zach.
Yeah, thanks, man. Hopefully we can talk again sometime next week.
Yeah, that would be pretty good. 3 for 3. Yeah, Paul, I think this is awesome that we're getting this level of competitiveness. 2 guys as well, Charlie and Zach, that are in their 2nd year in the championship. Last year they were great as rookies. This year they're absolutely stars in their own right.
Absolutely, and look at that now. So Pinto keeps that 20-point lead that he had going into this feature race, but look at that now. Zac Campbell, 2nd place, the nearest contender here in the Porsche Gt4 Esports Supercup, and 30 points back to Jamie Fluke and Kevin Ellis Jr., both sharing the same points. 1 point behind them is Sebastian Job. Jeremy Brucello with that disastrous 2nd race drops him down to 6th place here with Aichan Guvan, as he said, not racing here today. Max Benneker now just 76 points off of the championship lead. Alejandro Sanchez, that's done him a world of good, now just 85 points behind, and Charles Collins 88 points. Actually top 10 covered by 88 points. Incredible. And look where we're going to next. The Red Bull Ring, just 1 week's time here, so there's very little preparation time for the drivers in this series.
Very little, absolutely. Great circuits, a bit more elevation than here. Not as many corners, but some great braking points. You've got compressions, you've got uphill braking points, you've got lots of advantages within the circuit characteristics to drive the car aggressively. I did say X's will be important. I know Nim Cross and I had a nice little debate about this circuit and 1X's, but it will be a factor, no question about it.
Just to confirm, that's on March the 26th at the Red Bull Ring. Same time, same place for all of the action. But Matt, my goodness, we've had a tremendously entertaining 3 hours here. Started off with the All-Stars putting on one heck of a show, and then the World Championship boys, they really did do some tremendous display of action out there. And don't forget, if you do want to keep up to date with everything going on in the series, head on over to iracing.com/PESC to find out when there are official results. You'll be able to see what the updated championship standings are there. And Matt, of course, as we've been saying all season long, new members, if they're new members, 40% off. That's not a bad deal.
Not a bad deal at all, and get on it. It's getting better and better. I just want to give a props to iRacing and the developers. I've been critical of tire models in the past. Every update for the past 2 years, it's been better and better. This tire model is excellent. GT3 cars feel great. The Porsche Cups are the best they've ever felt. There's never been a better time to be a member on iRacing than right now.
Absolutely. Check out iracing.com for further details. But that is all that we have got time for you here today. And it has been a tremendous day's action. Congratulations to Sebastian Job and Alejandro Sanchez on the race wins here today. We'll see you in 1 week's time at the Red Bull Ring.